Chapter 261. Ning Shu didn't expect that Old Man Wei would make such a sacrifice in order to break off the engagement. He was even punished by the sect to guard the crystal vein. Old Man Wei waved his hand. Don't think that I didn't see that Rainbow sect looked down on you. They wanted to break off the engagement, but they were afraid that they wouldn't get a share of the crystal vein, so they dragged it out. I gave them a cultivation method, but they weren't satisfied. In a fit of anger, I said that I wanted to bring forward the wedding date so that you two could quickly get married. The fact that the Rainbow Gate had pulled out their most talented and promising female disciple for a marriage alliance showed that they cared a lot about this Yuan crystal vein. But if they really married their most promising female disciple to Wei Liangyue, who had accomplished nothing, the people of the Rainbow Gate would still feel heartache. Now that Old Man Wei proposed to break off the engagement, he gave Rainbow sect face. After receiving benefits from Old Man Wei, he still acted like a victim. It was a bit annoying. But at least now it had nothing to do with Shihuidi. Whether she wanted to be with Yi Yu or Yi Yi, it had nothing to do with her. Thinking that he was going to marry a woman, even if it was a peerless beauty, Ning Shu still felt goosebumps all over his body. Take off your clothes. Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately covered his chest. What are you doing? Old Man Wei frowned. What are you doing? What's wrong with you recently? Always acting like a shy woman. Did you get beaten silly by Shihuidi? Ning Shu immediately put down his hand and coughed. Why are you taking off your clothes? Old Man Wei took out a soft armor as thin as a cicada's wing from his storage bag and threw it to Ning Shu. Wear this. It was made by your martial uncle. It should be able to avoid some injuries. Thank you, father. In order to show off his heroic and manly temperament, Ning Shu stripped his upper body in front of Old Man Wei and put on the soft armor. Let's go. The others are waiting. When we reach the secret realm, we must be careful. Old Man Wei walked in front. Ning Shu followed behind him and asked, Father, is guarding the mine tiring? It's all right, it's just a little trivial, Old Man Wei said indifferently. Managing these things should be a waste of energy, and Old Man Wei wouldn't have time to cultivate. Father, why don't you plead with the sect to not guard the mine? It will affect your cultivation. Father Wei turned around and watched Ning Shu as he raised his eyebrows, saying, Brat, it's my first time to hear you say such sweet words to your father. Actually, your father is in a bottleneck. No matter how hard I cultivate, I'd better stop cultivating and do something else. Let nature take its course. Really? Ning Shu was in disbelief. How could it be fake? Old Man Wei said carelessly. Ning Shu thought that if Old Man Wei went to guard the pulse, he would definitely not be involved in this bullshit matter. It was a good result. As they spoke, they arrived at the plaza. There were many disciples gathered there, and a few of them were standing together. There were 4 men and 2 women. The surrounding disciples looked at the 6 of them with respect. Ning Shu knew from the original owner's memories that these 6 people were the more powerful disciples of the Tiandao sect. Each of them had a decent cultivation, unlike Wei Liangyue, who was just an embroidered pillow. Wei Liangyue knew that his cultivation wasn't high, so he didn't interact with these people. Moreover, these people always looked down on Wei Liangyue because of their high cultivation. Wei Liangyue must be crazy to come in front of these people. These people are going to the secret realm. You should follow them, Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked over, and the few of them took a few steps back. When the 2 female disciples looked at Ning Shu, their eyes were filled with undisguised disdain and vigilance. Ning Shu thought it seemed like he would have to carry this title until he died. Wei Liangyue, this damn brat, was really courting death. No matter where he went, the female disciples looked at him as if he was a pervert. This feeling was really strange. Old Man Wei asked the leading elder to take care of his son. The elder nodded. When they boarded the spirit ship, Old Man Wei pulled Ning Shu and said, Nothing is more important than your life. If you encounter something that you can't solve, just sit on the Flash Wind Eagle's back and run. Father, I will remember. I will definitely come back alive, Ning Shu said seriously. However, Old Man Wei's face was still filled with worry. When the spirit ship was far away, Ning Shu saw Old Man Wei standing at the plaza and looking at him. To have such a father was really a blessing from 8 lifetimes. The leading elder, Ning Shu, said, "Although I don't know why your father let this good-for-nothing go to the secret realm, it's good. You should know that cultivation is difficult. If you continue like this, your cultivation won't be enough. When the time comes, you will die in front of your father and let him send you off." Ning Shu sweated. Everyone really didn't like Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue didn't feel anything. He just muddled along and was happy. "Thank you, elder. Liangyue understands." Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu sat on a chair in the cabin. She was surrounded by a kind of vacuum, especially the two female disciples. They stayed far away from her as if they would lose their chastity if they stayed close to her. The original owner didn't force any of the women. It was all consensual, just like the female disciples of the sect. If they sent themselves to his door, Wei Liangyue would be stupid not to take them. In the end, he would give them some cultivation resources. It was a matter of mutual benefit. However, he didn't expect his reputation to be so bad. The main reason was that he was engaged to Hongmen sect's female god teacher, Huidi. This made Wei Liangyue even more unsightly. "Brother, I heard you and Hongmen sect's Sir Huidi broke off the engagement." A round-faced man came over and asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu knew from his memory that this person was called Lu Qinyang. His cultivation was ranked in the top few disciples of Tiandao sect. "How do you know? How did the news spread? Could it be Hongmen sect?" "No way. Sure, Huidi was a girl after all. Breaking off the engagement wasn't something glorious." Lu Qinyang opened his eyes wide and asked, "You really broke off the engagement? Did you break it on your own accord?" Lu Qinyang's words attracted the attention of several disciples. Ning Shu nodded and said, "I did break off the engagement with Sir Huidi." "Oh my, I said at the beginning that the marriage between you and Sir Huidi was going to break off. Hongmen sect wouldn't let such an outstanding disciple like Sir Huidi marry you. It was completely a stopgap measure." Lu Qinyang slapped his thigh and excitedly said, "Now everyone has a chance. It's also because you are not worthy of her." Lu Qinyang didn't care about Ning Shu's feelings and directly said the truth. Ning Shu's heart was filled with anger. This was the original owner's emotion. Ning Shu said with an indifferent expression, "Even if I am not worthy of Sir Huidi, it is because I broke off the engagement with Sir Huidi." Chapter 262. "Brother, in my opinion, you should have broken off the engagement long ago. Sir Huidi clearly doesn't like you, but you can still save some face by breaking off the engagement." Although Lu Qinyang said this, his tone was filled with schadenfreude. Obviously, he looked down on Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that these people were just envious and jealous. She was just a useless second generation who relied on her father to get such a beautiful fiancé that men could only dream of. Now that she had broken off the engagement, they were mocking her. If you have the ability, you should have a father like Old Man Wei. Reincarnation is also a skill. Ning Shu closed his eyes, not wanting to talk to these people. Even if Sir Huidi didn't like Wei Liangyue, did these people have a chance? The beauty was reserved for the male lead. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu like this and gave up talking to him. A man beside him frowned and said to Lu Qinyang, "Why are you talking to him for no reason?" That's right. Even if he enters the secret realm, he will only drag us down." A female disciple glanced at Ning Shu and said with disdain. Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked at the female disciple who spoke. "When did I say that I want to go with you? Can I go by myself?" Ning Shu never intended to follow these people. Although they were disciples of the same sect, it didn't mean that they could be trusted, especially when these 6 people hated him so much. A look of disdain flashed across the female disciple's face. "With your strength, entering the secret realm is just courting death. Any iron-teeth rabbit in the secret realm can deal with you. I didn't ask you for help. What are you talking about, bitch?" Ning Shu didn't do anything to this female disciple. It was as if he had raped her. How bad was the original owner's reputation? Wasn't it because some people in the Heavenly Tao sect were jealous of the original owner? Wei Liangyue was indeed unrestrained in the matters between men and women, but he wasn't a vicious pervert who would eat any female. The female disciple was angered by Ning Shu's words. "You dare to talk to me like that, a low-level cultivator." My father is Wei Ming. If you're not convinced, you can go and find my father. Ning Shu was now a genuine hedonistic son. The female disciple was so angry that her chest heaved as she glared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately felt refreshed. He knew that these women didn't like him. Ning Shu, who was hiding far away, pretended not to see them and didn't care. However, if they had to step on others to prove how pure they were, Ning Shu couldn't stand it. Sigh, it's all because of strength. Alright, we're all disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect. There's no need to make our relationship so tense. Wei Liangyue, your strength isn't enough and you need to rely on your companions to save you. Don't talk nonsense. The leading elder, Ning Shu, said. Clearly, he was reminding Ning Shu. Ning Shu grinned at the captain but didn't say anything. The other 6 disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect were even more unfriendly towards Ning Shu, but Ning Shu didn't care. Half a day later, they arrived at the entrance of the secret territory. There were already many people at the entrance of the secret territory. Each sect was clearly divided, waiting for the secret territory to open. When Ning Shu got off the spirit ship, he heard a very coquettish female voice. Big pervert, you actually dare to appear. The surrounding people immediately snickered and jeered. Big pervert, big pervert. The disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect immediately distanced themselves from Ning Shu, acting as if they didn't know Ning Shu at all. Ning Shu still hadn't figured out what was going on. He looked at the coquettish girl in front of him. She was full of vitality and had a bell on her wrist that jingled. For you. Ning Shu looked at the proud girl and said in a bad mood, why wouldn't I dare to come? Is this place your home? Big pervert, you actually dared to break off the engagement with senior sister. I'm going to take revenge for senior sister today. The girl was filled with righteous indignation. A piece of trash like you actually dared to break off the engagement. Ning Shu was speechless. He looked around and saw Shi not far away. She was dressed in white with a veil covering her face. She was cold and there was an imposing and handsome man standing beside her. Ning Shu didn't need to guess to know that this should be the male lead Yiyu. It wasn't enough to just be strong. He had to have a handsome face that women couldn't resist. He had to be the male lead with his own BG background music. Shi glanced at Ning Shu. Her eyes were indifferent as if she didn't know Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't care. On the other hand, Yiyu sized up Ning Shu and then revealed a look of disdain. He then moved close to Shi ear and said something. His actions seemed very intimate. Facing Yiyu's intimate actions, Shi moved to the side uncomfortably. She seemed to be a little shy. Hey, big pervert, what are you looking at? Now that senior sister is no longer your fiancée, if you look again, I'll dig your eyes out. The girl Ning Shu fiercely shouted. Ning Shu looked at the girl. Your senior sister didn't say anything. Why are you in such a hurry to stand up for others? So what if I break off the engagement? If I don't break off the engagement, should I wait to be beaten to death by the disciples of your rainbow sect? Ning Shu curled his lips. He walked around the girl and prepared to leave. The girl stopped Ning Shu again. At least you know what's good for you. Even if you want to break off the engagement, it should be my senior sister. Ning Shu was speechless. Then why didn't your senior sister break off the engagement? We've been engaged for such a long time. If she wanted to break off the engagement, why didn't she say so? Ning Shu stared at the girl and asked. The girl was a little speechless. She then said, this is the decision of the sect. Senior sister can't make the decision herself. Then she can't make the decision. I propose to break off the engagement. Why are you looking for trouble with me? What do you want people to do? Send you to your death? Ning Shu was really fed up. Don't act like you're a good girl. You're a whore but you still want to set up a monument to your chastity. Who took advantage of this matter? The girl was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at Ning Shu. Who are you calling a whore? If I don't destroy you, I won't be called Yan Jiao. Ning Shu sneered. Your man is flirting with another woman. You're actually standing up for your love rival. Why are you so stupid? What man? What love rival? I don't know what you're talking about. Yan Jiao couldn't help but look at Yiyu. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Sure enough, this hot-tempered girl liked Yiyu. This girl with a proud mouth and an upright body was obviously a member of the male lead's harem. Senior brother Yiyu is such a good person. Of course there are many who like him. If senior sister likes senior brother Yiyu, I can't be happier. At least I won't have to marry a big pervert like you. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu was completely unable to understand this woman who was illuminated by the protagonist's aura. This kind of strange situation where she didn't have any resistance to sharing a man and instead got along harmoniously with the harem. He couldn't understand it even if he racked his brains. Generally speaking, the male lead's ability to ooks was very strong. These harem women enjoyed it painfully and very much wanted a woman to share it with them. Therefore, these women didn't blame Yiyu at all for taking in a harem. Instead, they were happy to have sisters. What a strange way of thinking. Chapter 263. Ning Shu didn't want to pay attention to this little girl, so he walked around Yan Jiao and left. Yiyu walked over and put his hand on Ning Shu's shoulder. Yiyu's hand was very heavy, making Ning Shu almost unable to control himself and kneel down. Senior brother, aren't you being too rude to a girl? Yiyu lightly said, every girl should be protected and loved. Senior brother Yan Jiao shouted towards Yiyu, this person is too hateful. Ning Shu looked at Yiyu. He had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, but his eyes were flashing with coldness and killing intent. This killing intent was directed towards her. Fuck, so heavy, I'm about to kneel down. Ning Shu suddenly wailed and fell to the ground with a plop. His face was twisted in pain. He pointed at Yiyu and shouted, you're so vicious, you actually used underhanded methods on me. You almost broke my shoulder. Yiyu looked at his own hand and saw many people looking at him. Seeing this useless trash rolling on the ground in pain, his expression was very disdainful. Truly a useless thing. Fortunately, Huidi didn't marry such a man. Otherwise, her life would be ruined. Hongmen sect's disciple attacked my Heavenly Tao sect's disciple for no reason. Do you want to provoke a fight between our two sects? The Heavenly Tao sect's leading elder coldly asked Yiyu. Yiyu was a proud person, so he immediately said, I didn't attack him. As long as you peel off his clothes, you will know. Elder, I was injured by this person's origin chi. It hurts. Ning Shu struggled to get up from the ground and pitifully said to the elder. The elder gave Ning Shu a dan. Does Hongmen's sect want to become enemies with our Heavenly Tao sect? The leading elder watched from the side and also saw the Hongmen sect's male disciple make a move. Martial uncle, this is just a joke that junior brother Yi is playing with your sect's disciples. He doesn't have any intention of fighting. The incomparably cold Huidi came over. She first gave a junior's salute to the leading elder and said, Cold Moon. The leading elder looked at Ning Shu. After all, this was a matter between the younger generation. If he interfered too much, he would lose his bearing. At this moment, the disciples of the Tiandao sect came over. Ning Shu said, Wei Liangyue, forget it. It's not a big deal. Senior apprentice sister Huidi has already explained the matter clearly. Another disciple also said, while glancing at Huidi. Ning Shu was speechless. Big bitch, are you trying to get entangled with senior sister? There's clearly nothing going on, yet you're being so serious. Are you even a man? Nothing's going on, yet you're rolling on the ground, Yan Jiao said snappily. I'm not a man, you're a man. Ning Shu and Yan Jiao rolled their eyes. Sister, don't be so silly. You don't even know that you've been sold. Who are you calling sister? Who is your sister? If you call me sister again, I'll tear your mouth apart. Yan Jiao said unruly. See, you can't even grasp the main point. Ning Shu clutched his chest and said, I'm really injured. I see that the storage pouch on senior apprentice brother Ye's waist is not bad. Give it to me to play with. Ning Shu looked at the storage pouch on Yiyu's waist. Who knows how many good things were inside? Yiyu was a southern bamboo monarch with many treasures all over his body. Yiyu used his hand to press on the storage pouch on his waist. His expression was cold as he looked at Ning Shu's wretched appearance. He almost couldn't resist the urge to instantly kill this disgusting person. This is for you. It's a very good healing pill. Huidi took out a bottle of pills and threw it to Ning Shu. These pills are enough to heal your injuries. Ning Shu took the pills that Sherhuidi threw over. He opened it and smelled it. It's really good stuff. Thank you, great beauty. Sherhuidi's expression became extremely cold. She was clearly angered by Ning Shu's flirtatious tone. Moreover, Sherhuidi found that this man was not sad at all after breaking off the engagement. He looked at her with a very strange expression. Originally, Sherhuidi's heart was a bit bothered by the broken engagement. She was a woman with a very strong self-esteem. She wanted to break off the relationship with this man, but not in this way. Other people looked at her with a very strange expression. They said that she was abandoned by a useless second generation. This kind of humiliation was unbearable for the strong Sherhuidi. Junior apprentice brother, let's go. The enchantment is about to open. Sherhuidi didn't want to stay together with this man. Yi Yu nodded. He turned around and walked away. When he turned around, he looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of killing intent. Humph. Yen Jiao put her hands on her hips. Ning Shu coldly snorted. Big bitch, I won't let you off. She swung her long ponytail and walked away. The lead elder snappily said to Ning Shu, you're quite the hateful one. Anything can happen in the mystic realm. I can see that the strength of the Rainbow Gate sect's disciples isn't weak. Be careful. Seeing these people, she immediately jumped on the back of the Flash-Wind Eagle and fled. She didn't have the ability to fight against the male lead. Wei Liangyue, I'll use this spirit tool to exchange for the pills in your hand. The chubby Lu Qinyang looked at the pills in Ning Shu's hand. The other 3 male disciples were also ready to make a move. They wanted to exchange with Ning Shu. They even wanted to directly snatch the pills. Damn, could it be that the pills were some kind of treasure? Ning Shu immediately held the bottle tightly. He vigilantly asked, what are you guys doing? This is something given by the peerless beauty, Master Huidi. Keeping it by my side is like being in close contact with a goddess. Lu Qinyang said with a face full of ripples. Ning Shu, damn, these men are cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. Ning Shu even suspected that these men wanted the pills. Then they would look at the pills and masturbate. Ning Shu shook his head. He felt that he was too dirty. Ning Shu smiled and said, you can exchange, but only 1 pill at a time. If I don't like your things, I won't exchange. Lu Qinyang took out a dagger from his storage pouch and gave it to Ning Shu. This dagger can cut through iron like mud. It is very useful to keep it by your side. Ning Shu accepted the dagger and gave Lu Qinyang a round pill. Hey Wei Liangyue, this is for you. Give me a pill too. A male disciple gave Ning Shu a spiritual herb fruit. Ning Shu happily accepted the spiritual fruit and gave him a pill. Sherhuidi saw this scene from not far away. She was so angry that her body was shaking. This Wei Liangyue was really... Sherhuidi saw the intoxicated expression of the male disciple who received the pill. The feeling of being fantasized by a man was too humiliating and disgusting. A disciple came over and gave Ning Shu a crystal filled with impurities. Ning Shu asked for a pill. Ning Shu held the crystal against the light. Are you fucking kidding me? You want to exchange this crystal for Goddess Shi's pill? In your dreams. Ning Shu, this is a chaos stone. Hurry up and keep it. Hurry up and keep it. 2333. A terrifying sound wave sounded in Ning Shu's head. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. He threw a pill to that disciple and said with disdain, look at your poor appearance. This is a reward from me. That disciple took the pill and laughed at Ning Shu in his heart. What an idiot. Chapter 264. Ning Shu used Sherhuidi's pills to trade for a lot of treasures. The most precious one was the Chaos Stone that 2333 mentioned. Just hearing about chaos made him feel inexplicably high. She had once absorbed chaotic purple gas in the Sky Dao space. Could the Chaos Stone also have chaotic purple gas? Ning Shu turned his head and saw Sherhuidi's cold eyes and Yi Yu's gaze that looked like he was looking at a dead man. Yi Yu looked at the wretched Ning Shu, then turned to Sherhuidi and said, this person can't be left alive. Keeping him alive will hurt Senior Sister's reputation. He's doing this on purpose to humiliate Senior Sister. Once we enter the secret territory, junior brother will avenge senior sister and make sure he never leaves the secret territory. Sherhuidi's lips moved under the veil. She bit her lip with her pearly white teeth, but in the end she didn't say anything. Yiyu knew that senior apprentice sister agreed with his decision. Moreover, he was just a rich second generation. As long as he did it cleanly, no one would be able to find out. Senior apprentice sister, who was as bright as the moon, should not be looked at differently by the world because of this disgusting man. Hey, big bitch, why did you trade the pills senior sister gave you for something else? Yan Jiao asked unruly Ning Shu. Ning Shu said casually, since your senior sister gave it to me, it's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. But you shouldn't have given the pills to these men in front of senior sister, Yan Jiao said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at Yan Jiao and said, little girl, what did I do to you? You're always looking for trouble. If I keep your senior sister's things, you'll say that I still have feelings for her. No matter what I do, I won't be happy. What do you want me to do? I'll send you to your death. Yan Jiao was so angry that her face turned red. She pulled out her whip and pointed it at Ning Shu. She shouted angrily, I'll send you to your death first. As she spoke, she lashed out with her whip at Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly dodged. Looking at the whip in Yan Jiao's hand, he felt very sad. She also wanted to use her whip to whip people. You actually dare to dodge? Be a good boy and let this great ant whip you. See if this great ant doesn't whip your stinky face into a pulp. Yan Jiao shouted in a very spoiled manner. She was dressed in a tight-fitting blue robe with a simple long ponytail. She looked exceptionally lively. Ning Shu hid behind the leading elder and complained, Elder, she wants to kill me. The leading elder's face darkened. He felt a little embarrassed. Yan Jiao was so angry that her face was distorted. She pointed at Ning Shu and shouted, Are you still a man? How dare you complain? Do you have any shame? So what if I'm shameless? Ning Shu's Yan Jiao said with grief and indignation, You think you're in the right when you hit him? You're the shameless one. You can't win an argument, so you hit him. You're simply shameless. You're the shameless one. You're the shameless one. Yan Jiao immediately retorted, Oh my, this girl is too cute. It would be even better if I didn't whip her. Such a cute girl would be drowned in Yiyu's harem. Every time Yiyu met a beauty, he would take that beauty into his bag. There were all kinds of beauties. There were romantic ones, charming ones, pure ones, dignified ones, cold ones, lively ones. In short, there were all kinds of beauties. Moreover, these women loved him to death. When they met Yiyu, they would all be attracted to Yiyu. Yiyu saw Yan Jiao and Ning Shu quarreling and felt a little uncomfortable. He hurriedly called out to Yan Jiao. All right, Yan Jiao, there's no need to be so serious with this kind of person. Facing Yiyu, Yan Jiao's expression became much better. She walked towards Yiyu and even turned around to threaten Ning Shu. Just you wait. If you fall into my hands, this great ant will definitely make you suffer a fate worse than death. Ning Shu, I'm so scared. The barrier of the secret realm was getting weaker and weaker. It looked like it would open soon. Ning Shu's expression became serious. He held the spirit beast pouch tightly. If anything happened, he would release the flash wind eagle and run. Nothing was more important than his life. For his life, he could give up his integrity. It's open. The barrier is open. Following the sound of people's voices, everyone went into a big hole in the barrier. Ning Shu was in the middle of the crowd and was directly squeezed in. Before he could react, his head buzzed and he didn't feel anything. When Ning Shu woke up, he was already in a desolate place. There was a familiar person lying next to him. It was Lu Qinyang. Not long after Ning Shu woke up, Lu Qinyang woke up as well. He then began to vomit. When the dizziness disappeared, Lu Qinyang noticed Ning Shu next to him. He was a little surprised. You were sent here by the teleportation array. Why didn't you have any reaction? Of course I had a reaction. I wanted to vomit a long time ago, but I swallowed it down. Ning Shu smacked his lips. Lu Qinyang. What? Lu Qinyang, who had just vomited, began to vomit again. Ning Shu ignored him and directly released the flash wind eagle from the spirit beast pouch. He was ready to leave. Hey, where are you going? Seeing Ning Shu's flash-winged eagle, Lu Qinyang's eyes flashed. He said, the secret realm is dangerous. Let's go together. If anything happens, we can help each other. Lu Qinyang looked at the flash-winged eagle with envy. He then asked Ning Shu, how many people can your flash-winged eagle carry? What? Ning Shu controlled the flash-winged eagle to fly into the air. Seeing Ning Shu leave, Lu Qinyang's face suddenly turned ugly. He hurriedly shouted at Ning Shu, who was in the air, you are so weak. You want to go alone? Let's go together. Ning Shu didn't want to stay with someone with bad intentions. He also had to guard against the people around him. The flash-winged eagle was very fast. In an instant, it disappeared in front of Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang cursed and regretted that he didn't make a move earlier. He didn't expect that Trash Wei Liangyue would have a spirit beast like the flash-winged eagle. Ning Shu sat on the back of the flash-winged eagle and looked around. This space had a desert and forest. He could faintly hear the sound of beasts roaring in the lush forest. There was also the sea in the distance. If this was a cultivator's senfu, it was too big. Ning Shu let the flash-winged eagle land and then put it away. Walking in the forest, Ning Shu picked the spirit herbs he saw. Moreover, this secret realm was full of heaven and earth yuan qi. Ning Shu only needed to take a sniff, and his breath was full of yuan qi. He felt refreshed. If he could accept this senfu and cultivate in this senfu, it would be great. This should be the male lead's fortuitous encounter. It had nothing to do with her. Ning Shu touched some herbs that spirit beasts hated. In her heart, she was drooling over this senfu. However, her current strength was too weak. She simply didn't have the strength to fight with the male lead. This senfu isn't anything good. It's just trash. 2333's voice in her mind was full of disdain. Ning Shu indifferently replied, forgive me for not seeing the world. I don't know what else is good. Why do you say this senfu is trash? Ning Shu's feelings were complicated. The thing she wanted but couldn't get was looked down upon by others. Chapter 265. Then why don't you tell me why this senfu is trash? Can you give me a piece of trash like the senfu? Ning Shu said indignantly. She still wanted to snatch this piece of trash from the male lead, Tui, senfu. This shouldn't be some senfu, but a plane, a very, very low-level plane. It didn't even have its own laws, so it can't give birth to its own unique creatures. In the end, it was sacrificed and used as a senfu, a shelter. 2333 said faintly, obviously looking down on this senfu. This plane has no future. If it can't form its own laws of heaven and earth, it will slowly disappear. If that's the case, it should have grown into a plane. It's an immature plane. The place where the plane was born prematurely peeled off. 2333 said. The place where the plane was born? There's such a place? Ning Shu asked curiously. She felt like she had opened the door to a new world. 2333 said impatiently. Planes can also die. If the plane can't maintain and repair its laws of heaven and earth, the plane will collapse and naturally disappear. However, new planes will also be born. Your role is to repair these planes and prevent them from collapsing for some reason. After all, every plane has countless creatures. If the plane collapses, these creatures will also disappear. Ning Shu suddenly felt that her current job was so great. She could live forever and also repair planes. Okay, now how was she going to snatch this plane from the male lead? If this thing fell into the male lead's hands, then the male lead would be invincible. If she couldn't beat him, then she could just hide in the senfu. Ning Shu took out the map that Old Man Wei gave her. It marked the places where treasures grew. However, they were all guarded by vicious beasts. Ning Shu couldn't beat them. Getting these things was basically a dream. Her strength was too low. Ning Shu felt that the mission was getting harder and harder. Senior Brother Yi, where are we going now? A familiar, lively female voice sounded. Then, a group of people appeared in front of Ning Shu. They were basically all disciples of the Rainbow Sect. Yan Jiao was stunned for a moment, then she laughed sinisterly. Big bitch, you're out of luck. When Yi saw Ning Shu, he sneered. His eyes were cold. Ning Shu said, "You shouldn't humiliate your senior sister like that." Ning Shu didn't say anything. He released his flash wind eagle and ran away. Yi Yu was stunned for a moment. He hadn't even finished speaking and this person had already run away. It seemed like this person knew that he wasn't strong enough and ran away first. Yi Yu was particular about getting rid of weeds. Don't think that just because you have a flying spirit beast, you can run away. Yi Yu turned to Yan Jiao and Shihuidi and said, "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." "Senior brother Yi, you must kill that despicable bitch. Don't let your senior sister be sad for this kind of person. He insulted your senior sister like this. You must cut him into 10,000 pieces." Yan Jiao angrily said. Yi Yu seriously looked at Shihuidi, who was wearing a thin veil, and said, "Senior sister, don't worry. I will definitely kill this person." "Xiaowa!" Yi Yu shouted. A red light came out from the spirit beast bag. Then, a clear bird cry sounded. A fiery red bird affectionately called out to Yi Yu. "Okay, Xiaowa. Let's go chase after the rat. Let him see the grace of your divine beast." Yi Yu jumped on Xiaowa's back and chased after Ning Shu. Ning Shu, who was running in front, felt that something was wrong. The flash wind eagle's consciousness transmitted a feeling of fear. Moreover, its speed also slowed down. Ning Shu looked back and saw Yi Yu standing on the back of the fiery red bird. He was chasing after him, and the distance between them was gradually shortening. Is this a phoenix? The other party's speed was getting faster and faster. It was clearly faster than the flash wind eagle. Ning Shu was a bit anxious. If the male lead caught up, would he still be alive? "Fly towards the seaside." Ning Shu ordered the flash wind eagle. The flash wind eagle wanted to get rid of the pressure of the divine beast. When it heard Ning Shu's order, it immediately flapped its wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw the flash wind eagle increasing its speed and coldly sneered. "Struggling before death. Xiaohua, hurry up. Senior sister is still waiting for us. There's no need to waste time here." The divine beast phoenix cried out. It flapped its beautiful fiery red wings and chased after the big stupid bird. Ning Shu was very anxious. He saw Yi Yu getting closer and closer. Moreover, his speed was very fast. "Don't run. Even if you run, you won't be able to escape." Yi Yu mobilized the energy in his body and attacked Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly felt his internal organs shift. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. If it wasn't for the soft armor given to him by Old Man Wei, Ning Shu would have already died. Ning Shu didn't care about the pain in his body. He transferred his energy into the flash wind eagle. With Ning Shu's assistance, the flash wind eagle desperately increased its speed. It flapped its big wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw that his attack didn't injure the other party. He was surprised. He had used 80% of his strength. He thought that this person would be directly smashed into minced meat. However, he was actually fine. It seemed like he only spat out a mouthful of blood. Yi Yu's eyes flashed with a burning light. This person must have some kind of protective treasure on him. Yi Yu's expression became serious. He said to the phoenix, "Xiaohua, hurry up. What kind of treasure does this person have?" The phoenix let out a clear cry and increased its speed to catch up to the flash wind eagle. Ning Shu had already been chased to the seaside by Yi Yu. Ning Shu stood on the back of the flash wind eagle and looked at the phoenix. Yi Yu stood majestically on the phoenix's back. He was handsome like a powerful god, making others worship him. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood. He directly let the flash wind eagle enter the spirit beast pouch. He directly jumped into the sea. Moreover, he was lucky to jump into the sea. Yi Yu's face suddenly sank. He stared blankly at the splashing waves in the sea. His heart was very worried. He thought that this person was just a useless piece of trash. He didn't think that he would have the courage to jump into the sea. Moreover, he didn't hesitate to jump into the sea. He could not be caught. Yi Yu's heart suddenly had a trace of fear towards this second-generation young master. He clearly knew that there were all kinds of spirit beasts in the sea. However, he still jumped in. Yi Yu put himself in the other party's shoes. If it was him, he would rather fight to the death than jump into the sea like this. However, Yi Yu forgot that Ning Shu was just a cultivation rookie. He didn't even have the ability to fight. Yiyu regretted not killing him earlier. He kept thinking about the other party's protective treasure. He wanted to use the least damaging method to kill him. He wanted to capture him alive and kill him. Unexpectedly, the other party managed to escape. Chapter 266. After Ning Shu jumped into the sea, Yiyu didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited above the sea surface. Yiyu waited above for a long time. Seeing that the person in the sea didn't appear, Yiyu thought for a moment before jumping into the sea. In the past, he looked down on Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue was very decisive in this situation. With a tenacious mind, she must be a great enemy. Yiyu jumped into the sea. Immediately, he felt that the sea water was bone-piercing cold. It was as if he was soaking in ice water. Even if he circulated the essence in his body, he couldn't resist the cold. What kind of sea water was this? It was so bone-piercing cold that it seemed to be able to freeze the essence in his body. Yiyu looked around but didn't see Ning Shu's shadow. Even with Yiyu's cultivation, he couldn't resist the cold. He felt that Wei Liangyue's cultivation was too low. She should have been frozen to death by the sea water. Yiyu jumped out of the sea surface and stood on the back of the phoenix. He frowned and looked at the sea surface. He didn't see anyone. In the end, he left. However, not long after, Yiyu returned. However, he still didn't see Wei Liangyue. Did she really die? Did she disappear for no reason? Yiyu stayed for a while longer before he really left. Ning Shu, who was being remembered by Yiyu, was entangled by something. She couldn't escape. Moreover, the thing that was entangling her felt like kelp or an octopus leg. Now, Ning Shu was holding a dagger and trying to cut off the thing on his ankle. However, when he tried to cut it, it felt like he was cutting a piece of iron or stone. The force of the rebound made Ning Shu's hand go numb. In addition, the sea water was cold. That kind of cold seeped into his bones. Ning Shu felt that his body was frozen numb. If it wasn't for the peerless martial arts in his body supporting him, he was afraid that Ning Shu would have frozen to death. Moreover, the cultivation method of this world was unable to resist the cold. What the hell was this thing? Anyway, this thing just kept pestering her and didn't eat her. It also didn't make any movements. The surroundings were pitch black, and Ning Shu couldn't see anything. Fuck, I'm going to suffocate if I don't go now. Ning Shu didn't care about the thing on his leg and swam desperately at night, wanting to take a breath. She had been at the bottom of the sea for a long time. Just as he floated to the surface, he was dragged down by something on his leg. He only took a breath before he was dragged down. Furthermore, he had been injured by Yiyu and his internal organs were damaged. Now that he was soaked in the bone-chilling seawater, Ning Shu felt like he was going to die. If he didn't take any medicine to treat his wounds, he would really die. Yiyu, once I get out of here, I'll definitely hunt you down and let you have a taste of what it's like to be hunted down. Ning Shu released the Flash Wind Eagle. When the Flash Wind Eagle came out, it realized that it was in the sea and was stunned. Ning Shu grabbed the Flash Wind Eagle's claws and ordered it to rush out of the sea. The Flash Wind Eagle's speed was very slow in his hands. Ning Shu was speechless. He still dared to say that his ancestor was the Kuan Peng. The Kuan Peng could fly 9,000 miles in the sky and was invincible. However, the Flash Wind Eagle wasn't so good. Above, the Flash Wind Eagle was desperately trying to fly up. Below, the kelp was tightly holding on to him, pulling him down. Ning Shu felt like he was going to be torn apart. Fuck, this was how miserable it was to be weak. Suddenly, Ning Shu's leg loosened. Without the obstruction, the Flash Wind Eagle rushed out of the sea. For a moment, it couldn't stop and flew very high. When Ning Shu looked down, she felt dizzy. Moreover, there were astral winds high up in the sky. When the astral winds hit people, they immediately left deep bloody marks on their bodies. They were like flying knives. What Ning Shu couldn't stand the most was that his leg was still wrapped around by that damned thing. That damned thing was also being dragged out of the sea. Go down, go down. Ning Shu ordered the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle carefully avoided the astral winds and finally came down. As soon as his feet touched the ground, Ning Shu immediately took out some healing pills from his storage bag. Seeing that the Flash Wind Eagle's body was badly injured by the astral winds, he hurriedly stuffed the pills into its mouth and fed it some crystals. At least he had a helper by his side. It was really important to have a capable companion. Fortunately, he had contracted a spirit beast when he entered the secret realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Yiyu. The thing on his leg was slowly pulling him into the sea. Ning Shu looked at this thing and felt that it was really kelp. It even had roots. However, this kelp was completely black and had a feeling of fine iron. Furthermore, this thing had its own consciousness and was pulling Ning Shu into the sea with great force. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, did this kelp become a spirit? Ning Shu let the Flash Wind Eagle try to use its claws to see if it could pry open the kelp. The Flash Wind Eagle used its sharp and cold claws to scratch at the kelp on Ning Shu's leg. Sparks flew when the claws came into contact with the kelp. It seemed that there was no way to pry open the thing around his leg. Fuck, how unlucky. The kelp extended other branches and tried to entangle the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle immediately flew into the air, making it impossible for the kelp to entangle it. Ning Shu hugged a tree tightly and didn't let this thing drag him into the sea. Fuck, his leg was going to be torn off. What the hell was this? Could it be that he couldn't get rid of the kelp? If the kelp really turned him into spicy shredded kelp, the problem was that he had never seen such hard kelp before. Ning Shu had no choice but to try and see if she could make this thing her spiritual pet. 2 small white dots appeared in his consciousness. Sure enough, it worked. Ning Shu squeezed his consciousness into a small white ball. The kelp was still ignorant and didn't know how to resist. It just kept dragging Ning Shu into the sea. After engraving his consciousness into the kelp's consciousness, Ning Shu realized that this one, let's call it this one for now, didn't have any emotions. Its mind was blank. The emotional fluctuations that were transmitted to Ning Shu were that it wanted to go into the sea. It seemed that it couldn't leave the sea. Ning Shu first comforted the kelp and then asked it to let go of him. However, the kelp didn't understand Ning Shu's intention and just tried to drag Ning Shu into the sea with all its might. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, there was no way to communicate. Ning Shu could only communicate with the kelp in his consciousness and ask it to let go of him. The kelp still dragged Ning Shu into the sea. Ning Shu could only sigh and let it drag him into the sea. Once it touched the sea, the kelp seemed to be in a better state. It swam in front of Ning Shu and seemed to be very curious about Ning Shu. Ning Shu floated on the surface of the sea and expressed his goodwill to the kelp over and over again. He also asked it to let go of his leg. The kelp finally understood Ning Shu's intention and finally let go of Ning Shu's leg. However, the whole plant stuck to Ning Shu's body and tightly wrapped around Ning Shu. Then, it suddenly pulled Ning Shu into the sea. Fuck. Ning Shu's heart ached when he encountered the first stupid spirit beast. When the Flash Wind Eagle saw this, it screeched sharply and hurriedly flew on the surface of the sea. Ning Shu was pulled to the bottom of the sea by the kelp. The kelp tightly wrapped around Ning Shu and seemed to be very intimate with Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Help, I need to breathe. Chapter 267. Ning Shu was dragged to the bottom of the sea by Kelp Lord. What he regretted the most in his life was making Kelp Lord his spirit pet. Without any thoughts, it was so difficult to communicate. Ning Shu was planted beside Kelp Lord like a stalk of kelp. Ning Shu reached out and touched it. He felt that the place under his feet should be some kind of coral. It was hard to the touch. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord in his mind, but Kelp Lord only gave Ning Shu a very monotonous feeling. It didn't even know what Ning Shu was talking about. After being in the sea for a long time, Ning Shu asked Kelp Lord to take him out to breathe. If she didn't breathe, she would die. After telling Kelp Lord many times, Kelp Lord finally got Ning Shu out of the sea. When Ning Shu took a breath, Kelp Lord would immediately drag her down. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her to the bottom of the sea again. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea again. The Flash Wind Eagle stood on the shore and watched its master pop up again and again. Ning Shu, my heart is so tired. I don't know what to say. After being tormented by Kelp Lord, Ning Shu found that he had completely adapted to the bone-piercing temperature of the sea. His body didn't feel cold anymore. It was probably because he was numb to the cold and couldn't feel it. Ning Shu stayed beside Kelp Lord. He felt that the vitality in the sea was quite abundant. Ning Shu also felt that his body was slowly strengthening. During this time, Ning Shu understood the situation around him. There was only one spirit beast, Kelp Lord. Sometimes, Ning Shu could even feel some bones. It was probably a spirit beast in the sea that was entangled by Kelp Lord and died here. Ning Shu didn't know how Kelp Lord evolved from seaweed to this. It was simply unbelievable. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord, but Kelp Lord was still confused. Really, why do I always meet these kinds of noobs? It's fine if it's zombies, but now it's kelp. I don't know what kind of creatures will appear in the future. The kelp let Ning Shu squat beside it. Anyway, she didn't have to do anything. Ning Shu wanted to leave, but the kelp wrapped around her tightly, making it impossible for her to escape. Fuck, am I going to die of old age in this plane? There was nothing more tragic than being entangled to death by a kelp. Ning Shu had no choice but to cultivate slowly. However, cultivating underwater was actually much faster than cultivating on land. This was the only consolation amidst his misery. Invulnerable and ignorant. Ning Shu's claws were really numb. This was how miserable it was to be weak. 2333 system, please help me. Ning Shu asked 2333 for help for the first time. The buzzing sound in his head continued for a long time, but 2333 still did not say anything. Ning Shu suspected that 2333 had burned his motherboard. What is it? 2333 asked. Suddenly it exclaimed, there's a lot of spiritual marrow under your butt. Ning Shu hurriedly searched everywhere. Where is it? Where is it? Ning Shu touched something that looked like a rock. Is this spiritual marrow? The spiritual marrow is crystallized. Good stuff, good stuff. 2333 quickly said, there's liquid spiritual marrow underneath. Ning Shu touched the spiritual marrow again. The spiritual marrow was very heavy. It was like jelly in the water and did not disperse in the water. Suddenly, he understood that the kelp was able to grow to this size because of the spiritual marrow. It only had strength, but no brains. Quick, these are all good energy. Give them all to me. 2333 finally saw a type of energy. Ning Shu gave the crystallized spirit marrow to 2333 and did not take any more. She grabbed a handful of the jelly-like spirit marrow and stuffed it into her mouth. Suddenly, an endless amount of spirit chi surged through her body. It was as if she could not stop it. Do you want to die? This kind of thing can't be eaten casually. 2333 said, even a drop of spiritual marrow contains a lot of spiritual energy. Ning Shu felt that the spiritual energy in his body was about to burst. Blood was coming out of his pores. Kelp seemed to have noticed that something was wrong with Ning Shu. It dragged Ning Shu to the surface of the sea. When Ning Shu thought that his body was about to explode, the peerless martial arts coiling dragon-like chi in his body actually started to absorb the spirit chi. Moreover, the coiling dragon's body was getting bigger and bigger, occupying the entire position of his dantian. However, it still absorbed the spiritual energy quickly. The dragon's body became smaller and smaller. Finally, it turned into a golden dragon. Its whole body emitted a golden luster. It swam in his dantian like a real dragon. The spiritual chi in the spiritual marrow was completely absorbed by this chi. Ning Shu was simply dumbfounded. She didn't think that this chi would be so fierce. She had obtained this secret book of peerless martial arts when she was a princess in a low-level plane. Moreover, it had such a funny name. Since she didn't have any powerful secret books, Ning Shu could only practice this secret book. However, she didn't think that this peerless martial arts would be so powerful. It was simply beyond Ning Shu's expectations. Sure enough, the simplest and lowest level things could be very powerful when practiced to the extreme. It was reasonable to say that Wei Liangyue's secret book was countless times stronger than the peerless martial arts. However, in the end he still relied on this spiritual energy to save his life. It seemed that even if he had a powerful secret book in the future, He could not throw away the peerless martial arts. This was the most powerful thing. The flash-winged eagle flew back and forth above Ning Shu's head. Its cry was somewhat anxious. It was clearly worried about Ning Shu. If Ning Shu died, the flash-winged eagle would also die. Ning Shu felt that her body was full of strength. Even with the kelp entangling her, Ning Shu easily went ashore. The kelp wanted to throw Ning Shu into the sea, but Ning Shu pulled on the kelp and easily dragged it away. She had now killed it. Oh he! The kelp's consciousness transmitted a very wronged feeling. Ning Shu directly let it soak in the sea. Then, she took out a spirit essence crystal and scraped a bit of powder before putting it into the flash-winged eagle's mouth. The flash-winged eagle immediately let out a high-pitched cry. Its entire body was trembling, and the feathers on its body quickly fell off. Soon, it turned into a big fat turkey, much thinner than before. Ning Shu was startled. Fuck, what's going on? Why is its feathers falling off? Thinking that he would have to ride such a thing in the future, Ning Shu felt very sad. But soon, the flash-winged eagle's body grew new feathers. The color of the feathers was darker than before, but its defensive power had increased by a level. The flash-winged eagle rubbed its head against Ning Shu, expressing its current happiness to Ning Shu. However, Ning Shu immediately pushed the flash-winged eagle's head away. Such a ferocious bird head with an even sharper beak. It still wanted to act cute and act cute? Go away. Now, Ning Shu had a shadow over the intimate actions of a spirit pet. It was all because of the kelp's fault. 2333 System Sir, seeing that I took so much spirit essence, can you give this kelp some wisdom? I'm tired. Ning Shu asked 2333. Chapter 268. Ning Shu looked at the kelp that was floating in the water. Such an innocent little thing really made people feel helpless. There should be some kind of command aura that gave this guy some pitiful intelligence. Ning Shu asked 2333 to think of a way, but 2333 immediately went silent. Ning Shu said unhappily, "You should at least give something back if you take something from others." Now Ning Shu understood. The kelp kept asking her to stay with it probably because it felt that the place it grew up in was a good place and wanted to share it with her. Unfortunately, she could not communicate with the kelp. The kelp was lucky to be able to grow in such a place. It can be exchanged, but your system store is not open yet, so there is no way to open it. 2333 said regretfully. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, I must open this damn store. There are low-level wisdom pills. I can use a loophole in the system to exchange some for you. Do you want it? But the spiritual marrow is mine. 2333 said weakly, my energy is about to run out. Fuck, what a black-hearted bitch. Ning Shu waved her hand, exchange it. Okay, please wait. 2333's voice was very excited. Ning Shu felt that he was tricked again. A moment later, 5 round pills appeared in Ning Shu's hand, shining with a rainbow light. Moreover, the fragrance was very strong, making people feel a lot clearer after smelling it. Things that they didn't understand before were now clear. This was the wisdom pill. Ning Shu wanted to feed the wisdom pill to the kelp, but she suddenly realized that the kelp did not have a mouth. How was she going to feed the kelp? Maybe it knew that the thing in front of it was beneficial. The kelp's roots suddenly opened something like a mouth, waiting for Ning Shu to feed it. Ning Shu felt that her worldview was being challenged. Fuck, the kelp had a mouth. After continuously throwing 3 wisdom pills into kelp's mouth, kelp was so proud of himself that even his long branches were shaking. Ning Shu thought about it and removed the relationship between him and the kelp. The kelp could only live in the sea, so there was nothing wrong with bringing it with him. For a moment, Ning Shu felt that his consciousness connection with kelp had disappeared. Kelp was a little confused and didn't quite understand what was happening. Ning Shu sat on the back of the flash-winged eagle and left. Ning Shu stuffed a wisdom pill into the flash-winged eagle's mouth. Then he ate one himself. The moment the pill entered his mouth, it melted into a warm current. Then he felt nothing. Ning Shu smacked his lips. That's it? Heavens, you actually ate the wisdom pill? 2333 exclaimed, using the mainframe to simulate a shocked voice. This wisdom pill is for animals, No one has ever eaten it before. Ning Shu, holy shit, will there be any side effects? Ning Shu covered his face. This was a dark history that he couldn't bear to look at. 2333 was silent for a moment, then said, no one has ever eaten it before. I really don't know what side effects there will be. If there are any side effects, you have to tell me so that I can make some data. Ning Shu, I want to die. This was the reason why he didn't know much. Most importantly, he had an unreliable system by his side. The Flash Wind Eagle was now very fast. In a short while, they were far away from the beach. Ning Shu patted the Flash Wind Eagle's wings and asked it to dismount. Ning Shu didn't meet many people along the way. When he came across some spiritual herbs and rare treasures, even if they were guarded by spiritual beasts, Ning Shu didn't let them go. Ning Shu wanted to test his abilities. He came across a spiritual fruit that could expand the meridians. However, this spiritual fruit was guarded by a ferocious bear. Ning Shu looked at the incomparably majestic tyrannical bear and felt a little weak. However, she circulated her chi and stabbed the tyrannical bear with her spirit weapon longsword. The tyrannical bear was enraged and raised its huge bear paw to slap Ning Shu. However, what was more shocking was that Ning Shu's sword pierced through the bear's paw. It shouldn't be because of the spiritual weapon. Ning Shu clenched her fists and felt that her entire body was filled with strength. Ning Shu jumped up from the ground and clenched her fists tightly, smashing them towards the violent bear's head. In an instant, the bear's head exploded like a watermelon. Smelly blood mixed with gray brain matter splattered all over Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu was indescribably shocked. She was now Hercules. Her strength had reached an unimaginable level. Ning Shu didn't react until the bear's body fell to the ground. It was good to have strength. Only then would she have the strength to fight back against the male lead. The Flash Wind Eagle eagerly picked the spiritual fruit for Ning Shu and obediently gave it to her. Ning Shu took the spiritual fruit and placed it in her storage bag. Ning Shu didn't know how long it had been. She was afraid that she would be trapped in this senfu and not be able to leave. After walking for a while, Ning Shu didn't meet anyone. Thus, she caught 2 iron teeth rabbits and roasted them. The Flash Wind Eagle stood around Ning Shu and vigilantly checked the surroundings for danger. Ning Shu clearly felt that the Flash Wind Eagle had become more spiritual after eating the wisdom pill. In addition, Ning Shu's strength had increased. In its heart, it regarded Ning Shu as its master. The Flash Wind Eagle transmitted to Ning Shu its feelings of reverence and gratitude. Speaking of the wisdom pill, Ning Shu's cancer of embarrassment flared up. It was too embarrassing. After eating a tasteless iron teeth rabbit, Ning Shu dug her teeth. After all, it was a spiritual beast. The meat was tough. Ning Shu threw the other one to the Flash Wind Eagle. Suddenly, there was a rush of chaotic footsteps. Ning Shu was shocked. It meant that there were still people in the senfu. The senfu's enchantment hadn't been closed. The Flash Wind Eagle immediately held the roasted rabbit in its mouth, stretched its neck, and swallowed it whole. Ning Shu couldn't help but stretch her neck and swallow a mouthful of saliva. Wasn't it afraid of indigestion? For people ran over in a sorry state. Their expressions were hurried and anxious, as if there was something terrifying chasing after them. However, these 4 people were familiar. They were the disciples of the Tiandao sect. There were 6 people, but now there were only 4 people left. 2 men and 2 women. The 2 missing disciples were probably dead. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu, he subconsciously exclaimed, "You're still alive." Lu Qinyang was really surprised. This secret realm was full of danger. Although there were many treasures, there were also many dangers. Not only were there powerful spiritual beasts, but there were also other people who had to be careful. Therefore, when Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu, he was shocked. How could someone with such weak strength survive? When the other 3 disciples saw Ning Shu, they were disappointed. They thought that he was someone powerful, but he was the famous trash of the sect. "What's chasing after you?" Ning Shu asked Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang looked at the Flash Wind Eagle that seemed bigger than before. His eyes flashed. When he heard Ning Shu's question, he quickly said, "Junior brother, there are spine iron wolves chasing after us." Can your flash-wind eagle take us away? Chapter 269. Lu Qinyang wanted to sit on Ning Shu's flash-wind eagle and leave. The other two disciples of the Tiandao sect had already been bitten to death by the Ridge Iron Wolves. Junior brother Wei, let's go together. The wolf pack will catch up soon. Lu Qinyang anxiously said to Ning Shu. The other three disciples surrounded Ning Shu and the flash-wind eagle. Ning Shu's face darkened as he coldly said, "What? You want to steal my flash-wind eagle?" Lu Qinyang dryly laughed. Don't misunderstand, junior brother Wei. We are all in danger and want to borrow your spirit pet. Let's go together. In Lu Qinyang's heart, Wei Liangyue was a piece of trash who couldn't help the sect at all. It was better to let them live and let Wei Liangyue do something for the sect. Ning Shu clenched his fists and coldly said, "Don't forget, the flash-wind eagle is my spirit pet. I can kill it with a single thought. If you want to steal my things, I will destroy you." Lu Qinyang was angered by Ning Shu's impolite words. One of the female disciples said, "Wei Liangyue, do you have any sense of the sect? We are all disciples of the Tiandao sect and we should support each other. What's wrong with borrowing your flash-wind eagle?" As soon as the female disciple finished speaking, wolf howls resounded. Immediately after, many wolves jumped over and surrounded the group. These ridge iron wolves had very protruding spines. When they opened their mouths, their saliva dripped onto the ground and corroded it. Moreover, their saliva was very smelly. The spine iron wolf slowly closed in, shrinking the encirclement. The spine iron wolf's eyes were filled with hatred as it looked at the heavenly Tao sect's disciples. Its saliva dripped as it closed in step by step, bringing with it a suffocating aura. The two female disciples' faces turned pale. They staggered and almost fell to the ground. One of them almost cried. Ning Shu complained, "If you had lent your flash-wind eagle to us, we wouldn't be in such a situation. I don't want to die." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Putting aside the fact that the flash-wind eagle couldn't fit so many people, these people didn't seem to have any intention of taking her away. They might even kill her. This weirdo's matter-of-fact attitude really made Ning Shu drunk. Wasn't she just a weakling? Wolves were very vengeful and cunning creatures. These disciples must have offended the pack of wolves or taken something that the pack of wolves valued. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so persistent in chasing them. "What did you take?" Ning Shu and Lu Qinyang asked. Lu Qinyang said, "It's a kind of spiritual fruit. We've already eaten it. You deserve to be chased." Ning Shu shrugged and said casually. Lu Qinyang glared at Ning Shu and took out his own spirit artifact. He took the lead in fighting against the ridge iron wolves. The others also braced themselves to find a breakthrough point and prepared to rush out of the wolf pack's encirclement. No one cared about Ning Shu. Obviously, if they rushed out of the encirclement, they wouldn't care about Ning Shu. Just a moment ago, they were still talking about the sect's consciousness. Now, these people had completely lost the sect's unity. Cultivators were very selfish. In order to pursue the supreme Tao, in order to cultivate, in order to achieve their goals, they were especially indifferent and selfish. So what if these people became immortals? Ning Shu let the flash-wind eagle fight. The flash-wind eagle flew into the air and then suddenly swooped down. It used its terrifying sharp beak to peck the ridge iron wolf's back. Suddenly, the ridge iron wolf's sad spine was broken. Ning Shu took a deep breath and clenched her fist. She punched the wolf that was pouncing towards her. Her fist smashed into the ridge iron wolf's head. In an instant, the ridge iron wolf's head exploded into a bloody mist. Even its body was turned into pieces of meat. Ning Shu was very excited. She discovered that her strength was really great. Moreover, it was developing in the direction of strength. She didn't need to use any complicated moves. She could directly use her bare hands to heavily injure some spirit beasts or people that didn't have a strong defense. In order to test her strength, Ning Shu clenched her fist and punched the ridge iron wolf's back. Immediately, the ridge iron wolf fell to the ground. Its body was soft and its bones were all broken. Clenching her fist, Ning Shu really wanted to shout. The feeling of being filled with strength was really great. She didn't have to worry about being chased by Yi Yu anymore. Maybe she could even kill him. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu's actions from the corner of his eyes. He was so shocked that his jaw dropped. Was this trash that only knew how to play with women and rely on his father's protection? Killing a wolf with a single punch. Lu Qinyang suspected that he was dreaming. Although it was easy for him to kill a wolf, many ants could bite an elephant to death. With so many ridge iron wolves, he was a bit overwhelmed. He watched as this trash easily killed the ridge iron wolves. The reason why the ridgeback iron wolf was called Iron Wolf was because its defensive ability was very strong. The spirit beasts in this secret realm all had very strong defensive abilities. Even an iron teeth rabbit had a pretty good defensive ability, but now it was killed by a single punch. Such a simple and crude move. Did it shake Lu Qinyang's worldview? If this was trash, then what about them? The other disciples also noticed Ning Shu's actions. They were so shocked that their jaws dropped. How could he kill the wolves so easily? Without any discussion, everyone gathered around Ning Shu and resisted the pack of wolves with her. Ning Shu and the flash-wind eagle reaped the harvest. The ground was covered with the corpses of the ridge iron wolves. The other ridge iron wolves lowered their bodies and whimpered at Ning Shu. They continuously retreated and finally ran away with their tails between their legs. Seeing the ridge iron wolves run away, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They turned their heads and looked at Ning Shu with a complicated expression. Ning Shu casually grabbed a handful of grass from the ground and wiped the stench of blood on her hands. A female disciple handed a handkerchief to Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Junior brother, use the handkerchief to wipe." Ning Shu was not polite. She took the handkerchief and wiped her hands clean. Looking at her own hands, they didn't look very thick or strong. They were just a pair of white and tender hands that had been maintained by the original owner. However, they had so much strength. It should be the coiling dragon energy in her body that had transformed her body. In addition to the effect of the energy, her body was filled with explosive power. The others also stared at Ning Shu's hands. It was hard to imagine that a pair of hands that looked like a woman's could have such great power. They suddenly felt that this pair of hands was filled with charm and beauty. Lu Qinyang and Ning Shu laughed heartily and said, "Junior brother Wei, I didn't expect your strength to be so great. I didn't know before." Ning Shu ignored Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang was a bit embarrassed and immediately said, "Where is junior brother Wei going next? Why don't we go together?" "Yes, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Road sect. If we go together, we can take care of each other." The other disciples sincerely invited Ning Shu. This was power. Only the strong deserved the respect of others. Chapter 270. These people saw that Ning Shu was very strong, so they wanted to invite Ning Shu to team up with them. In fact, they didn't believe that this trash was so powerful. Ning Shu didn't want to team up with them at all. Although they were disciples of the same sect, these people actually ostracized her in their hearts. Moreover, these people's eyes were flickering when they looked at her, and they couldn't help but scan her body. Lu Qinyang felt that Wei Liangyue should have some treasures on him. Wei Liangyue's father was an elder of the Tiandao sect and had a rich family background. Since he dared to bring such a trash son into the secret realm, he must have some trump cards. Lu Qinyang's eyes flickered as he sincerely said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother Wei, you can only find a limited amount of spirit herbs and spirit fruits by yourself. Why don't we all work together? We can share the harvest later." Ning Shu faintly asked, "What if we don't divide the spoils equally?" Lu Qinyang suddenly choked. He really didn't know how to respond to Ning Shu's words. It was like finding a spirit fruit. How should they divide it? Should they use a knife to cut it open and each person would get a petal? That was too shameful. Moreover, it would hurt the spirit fruit. Ning Shu jumped on the back of the flash-wind eagle and prepared to leave. The few people suddenly became anxious. No matter what, Wei Liangyue dealt with the ridge iron wolf very easily. Moreover, he even scared the ferocious wolf away. If Wei Liangyue left and the ridge iron wolf chased after them, it would be very difficult for them to deal with it. "Junior brother Wei, please don't go." A female disciple's eyes glowed like autumn water. Ning Shu said, "If you leave and the ridge iron wolf comes, what will we do?" Ning Shu very casually said, "Anyway, The spirit fruit isn't for me to eat. The Ridge Iron Wolf won't come looking for me. Everyone was speechless. Junior brother Wei, I have a spirit fruit that can comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. This spirit fruit is very precious. I will give it to you. Lu Qinyang took out a jade box from his storage bag with a painful expression. When Ning Shu saw Lu Qinyang's expression, he felt that there must be something good inside the box. Otherwise, Lu Qinyang wouldn't look like he was about to cut off his flesh. Ning Shu jumped down from the Flash Wind Eagle's back. He wanted to take the box, but Lu Qinyang held onto him tightly. Ning Shu grabbed the box with all his strength. Lu Qinyang's face trembled. Junior Martial Brother Wei, I hope you like this. Opening the box, Ning Shu saw a snow-white fruit surrounded by a complex rainbow light. Just looking at it for a long time would make one feel dizzy. Ning Shu closed the box and put it in his storage pouch. He smiled and said, I like it a lot. This thing should be useful to Old Man Wei. Things that could allow one to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth were very precious. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu put away the item, his face twitched. After a long while, Ning Shu said, Junior Martial Brother Wei, let's form a team. Of course, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect. Naturally, we have to help each other. Ning Shu understood that Lu Qinyang took out this thing to let her fight the wolf pack. When they heard that Ning Shu was willing to stay, they all let out a sigh of relief. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, the current Wei Liangyue was stronger than them. Due to the many Ridgeback Iron Wolf corpses in the surroundings, the few of them changed locations and prepared to rest. The few of them had been constantly chased by the Ridgeback Iron Wolves, so they had not been able to rest properly. In comparison, Ning Shu's condition was many times better than theirs. Some people went out to hunt iron teeth rabbits and roast them to replenish their energy. Ning Shu sat beside the Flash Wind Eagle and meditated on the ground. Lu Qinyang sat beside Ning Shu. He rubbed his nose and wanted to talk to Ning Shu. However, the Flash Wind Eagle glared at him with a warning look. Lu Qinyang looked at the Flash Wind Eagle with some bewilderment. He felt that this spirit pet was different from before. It was much stronger. He guessed that Wei Liangyue gave it some spirit fruit to make it stronger. She was really a nouveau riche. She actually gave good things to a spirit pet to eat. Having a powerful father was really willful. Many disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect were very jealous of Wei Liangyue. Others were lucky enough to painstakingly collect cultivation resources, but Wei Liangyue had a father who didn't have any resources. Moreover, she had these resources, but she didn't cultivate seriously. This made others feel like scratching their hearts and lungs. They couldn't wait to change places with Wei Liangyue. What's the matter? Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw Lu Qinyang staring at his spirit pet with a very complicated look. He even had thoughts about his spirit pet? Lu Qinyang's chubby face smiled. He looked very kind and said, I just want to ask you about cultivation. I don't think your cultivation is very high. Why are you so powerful? Ning Shu said, I have great strength. Lu Qinyang was speechless. What kind of answer was this? Junior Brother Wei, eat something. A female disciple gave a roasted rabbit to Ning Shu. Ning Shu waved his hand. I've eaten. You guys can eat. The Flash Wind Eagle looked at the roasted rabbit in the female disciple's hand. Its sharp eyes were fixed on it. Ning Shu took the rabbit and thanked the female disciple. Thank you, senior sister. Ning Shu threw the rabbit to the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle ate the rabbit. The female disciple Ning Shu smiled and said, Junior brother, your spirit pet is very interesting. Ning Shu said, Your spirit pet is also very interesting. I don't have a spirit pet yet. A good one is hard to come by. The female disciple sat next to Ning Shu. The breeze blew her hair and swept it onto Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu felt very itchy and moved to the side. The female disciple didn't care about Ning Shu's movements. Ning Shu asked, Actually, you did this on purpose. You pretended to be a good-for-nothing and began to show your talent after you broke off the engagement with Sherhuidi. Ning Shu's face was indifferent. He felt that this female disciple was really thinking too much. She was just a good-for-nothing. Why did she have to pretend? If Sherhuidi saw that her former fiancé was so outstanding, she would definitely regret it. The female disciple fell into her own fantasy. Ning Shu, so what if she was powerful now? It was useless if she didn't have the looks of a male general. Face was very important. Junior brother Wei, did you get anything in the secret realm? The female disciple looked at Ning Shu and asked, if you have something good, and I have something that you want, we can exchange. Ning Shu looked at the female disciple and asked, what good things did you find? Take them out and let me see if there is anything I need. I will consider exchanging with you. The female disciple smiled stiffly. How can I find good things? It's just some low-level spiritual herbs. I haven't found any spiritual fruits yet. I haven't found a single spiritual fruit yet. Ning Shu nodded and didn't answer. The female disciple said a few more words to Ning Shu and then left with an embarrassed expression. Didn't he just see that Lu Qinyang had given her a spiritual fruit? Now he was thinking about it. Did she really look like a fool? Chapter 271. Ning Shu had a lot of good things in her hands, but that didn't mean that anyone could take things from her. Did she really look like a fool with a lot of money? The disciples were all very tired. They leaned against the tree to sleep or cultivated to replenish their strength. Ning Shu knew that although she was very strong now, it was all thanks to the coiling dragon qi in her body. This qi could change a person's aptitude. To put it more scientifically, it could optimize genes. However, cultivating was like sailing against the current. Moreover, there was an extremely powerful male lead. If she didn't cultivate, she would be killed by him sooner or later. Now Ning Shu understood. Even if she and Sherhuidi called off the engagement, Sherhuidi's reputation was still damaged. The reputation of a broken engagement was really bad. However, if her ex-fiancé died, it would be different. People would gradually forget about Wei Liangyue's existence. Who would keep thinking about a dead person? Sherhuidi wanted to be with Yiyu. To a certain extent, it could be said that she was a woman serving two men. Even in this world where strength was respected, there were still many restrictions and malice towards women. Therefore, no matter what, she would have to go against the male lead. Ning Shu covered her face. It felt really strange to fight over a woman with a man. Lu Qinyang moved to Ning Shu's side again. Ning Shu asked, Junior brother Wei, where are we going next? I'm waiting to directly leave the secret realm. Ning Shu asked Lu Qinyang, where are you guys going? Lu Qinyang looked left and right with a very mysterious look. Ning Shu said, you should know that this secret realm is actually a senfu left behind by a powerful cultivator. I know. Ning Shu nodded. Lu Qinyang said again, then you should know that this senfu actually needs to recognize a master. If you can become the master of this senfu, you can dig up all the treasures inside at will. Ning Shu learned from 2333 that this was originally a plane that nurtured life, but it was enslaved by someone. Ning Shu looked a little hesitant. It shouldn't be that easy to refine such a large space. Lu Qinyang looked at Ning Shu and said, Elder Wei didn't tell you about this. In fact, this senfu can recognize a master. As long as you have the jade token, you can become the master of this senfu. Ning Shu really didn't know about this. With her ability, Father Wei just hoped that she could return alive. As for the senfu recognizing her as its master, Father Wei didn't even think about it. How many jade tokens do you have? Ning Shu asked, guessing that Yu had a jade token on him. Lu Qinyang said mysteriously, there are 3 jade plates. You don't know yet, but there is actually a palace in this secret realm. As long as you gather all 3 jade plates, you can open it. Why couldn't he just gather all 7 of the 3 jade tokens to summon the divine dragon? Oh. Ning Shu didn't have any expression, as if he wasn't interested at all. Lu Qinyang was a little anxious. Ning Shu asked, don't you want to know who can get the senfu? Ning Shu said lightly, I can't get it anyway. Do you have a jade token? Junior brother Wei, you're joking. How can I get something like a jade token? I just want to see the palace in the secret realm. Lu Qinyang revealed his true purpose. He said that he wanted to see, but his heart was restless. In the face of such an amazing adventure, not many people could resist. Lu Qinyang thought that there would be a lot of danger on the way to the palace, and the closer he got to the center, the more powerful spirit beasts and treasures there would be. More than that, he wanted to see the Senfu. Ning Shu naturally saw through Lu Qinyang's thoughts. He said, "Since everyone knows about the Senfu, how can you be sure that you can get it? Besides, do you know if the 3 jade tokens are gathered?" When he ran over to take a look, he couldn't even get through the door. "Junior brother, you still don't know. This year, all 3 jade tokens are gathered. Besides, the secret realm limits the cultivation of the people who enter, so the disciples who come in for the trial can't have high cultivation. Junior brother, let's fight together." Lu Qinyang's voice was bewitching. He wanted to pull Ning Shu to snatch the Senfu. Ning Shu hesitated and immediately said, "Wealth comes from danger. Let's do it." Lu Qinyang immediately patted Ning Shu's shoulder and laughed heartily. "If we work together sincerely, our chances of winning will be much higher." Well said, well said. Ning Shu didn't think that she could get the Senfu. This should be the male lead's opportunity. If she went, she would just cause trouble. If she could prevent the male lead from getting the Senfu, Ning Shu would be very happy. Besides, she still had to take revenge for being hunted down. This time, no matter what, she had to fight with the male lead. It would be best if she could kill him. At the very least, she could injure him and put him at a disadvantage in the Senfu. Lu Qinyang told the others about the palace. They all agreed to go to the palace. Even if they couldn't snatch the Senfu, there should be other treasures in the palace. There should be a lot of secret treasures in the palace. There were also many treasures on the way. Everyone decided to go to the palace in the center. They all looked at Ning Shu's Flash Wind Eagle. Ning Shu directly let the Flash Wind Eagle enter the Spirit Beast bag. He said lightly, "My Spirit Beast can't carry so many people. Let's walk. If we fly, it won't be good if we miss any treasures on the way." The faces of the disciples didn't look very good. They wanted to say something, but they were worried about Ning Shu's fist. Lu Qinyang smiled and said, "We should walk. It won't be good if we miss any treasures." "Junior brother Wei, we don't have to ride the Flash Wind Eagle. Let the 2 junior sisters do it. It's not good for the 2 girls to walk over like this," one of the disciples said. The 2 female disciples looked at Ning Shu with expectant eyes. Ning Shu said lightly, "Since you don't want to go, you can wait for us here. That way you won't be tired." She couldn't stand these people's righteous attitude. "What did I owe you? Should the whole world be your mother? Should everyone spoil you? If the 2 of them wait here, something will happen. The spine iron wolf might come back." One of the male disciples frowned and looked at Ning Shu with an unkind expression. "We are a team now. Why are you so selfish?" Ning Shu pointed at his own nose and said in disbelief, "I'm selfish. I don't even know you guys. Why should I give my things to you? I'm still lacking crystals. Give me your crystals." The disciple was stunned speechless. Ning Shu sneered and said, "No matter how cheap you are, I don't have to follow you guys. Don't point fingers at me." Ning Shu turned and walked away quickly. Lu Qinyang quickly caught up with Ning Shu and pulled Ning Shu's arm. Ning Shu immediately shook off Lu Qinyang's hand. "What are you doing? Junior brother Wei, your temper is a bit too big." Lu Qinyang said helplessly, "Don't worry. No one can force you to do anything. However, we are a team. If there is danger, we can still help." Ning Shu arrogantly grunted. Chapter 272. He didn't know what Lu Qinyang said to them, but these people didn't look for trouble with Ning Shu anymore. At most, they just ignored Ning Shu. In the end, they just felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Wei Liangyue was obviously a weak chicken before, but now he was stronger than them. Moreover, they had to rely on this person everywhere. They were proud sons of heaven in Tiandao sect, but now they had to be together with a trash. Naturally, their mentality was high and mighty, and they felt that Wei Liangyue should support them. Even if Wei Liangyue had become powerful, the image of a trash was deeply ingrained in their minds. They felt that it was shameful to be together with this trash. Ning Shu looked at these disciples and felt that the most scheming one should be Lu Qinyang, who had a round face and looked approachable. When he needed help, his attitude was especially upright. The other disciples had the arrogance of Tiandao sect's proud sons of heaven and rarely spoke to him. However, Lu Qinyang was different. He spoke very sincerely to others. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have a map to the palace, Ning Shu wouldn't want to go with these people at all. Ning Shu only had a very simple map given to him by Old Man Wei. As for the matter of the palace, it didn't involve him at all. Old Man Wei understood his son's ability very well. Even in his dreams, he didn't think that he would let his son rob the Senfu. The group of people went in the direction of the palace. Along the way, they plucked all the spirit herbs and spirit fruits they encountered. When they encountered good things, these people excluded Ning Shu, but generally, the heavenly treasures were guarded by spirit beasts. These people couldn't beat the spirit beasts themselves, so they immediately took out spirit fruits and gave them to Ning Shu, saying that it was for everyone to share. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and felt drunk. These people were really awkward and pretentious. They wanted someone to help them, but at the same time, they were guarding against him. If they could beat the spirit beasts, they wouldn't share the heavenly treasures with them. If they couldn't beat the spirit beasts, they would immediately give something to Ning Shu and let Ning Shu help them beat the spirit beasts. To put it bluntly, he didn't treat Ning Shu as someone on the same level. Ning Shu took the spirit fruit from Lu Qinyang and put it in his storage bag. He clenched his fist and punched the snake-like spirit beast. This spirit beast's defense was very strong. Lu Qinyang and the others had been fighting for a long time but still couldn't kill it. Ning Shu felt as if he had punched a tire. The snake did not suffer any damage. Ning Shu took out his long sword and used his qi to pierce through the snake's head. Then, Ning Shu used his qi to slash the snake's body from head to tail, exposing its white and smelly snake flesh. Blood splattered everywhere. Ning Shu sliced a snake in half. The flash-winged eagle flew down from the sky and grabbed the snake's body with its claws. Clearly, it was treating the snake as its food. When the two female disciples saw such a bloody scene, in addition to the smelly snake blood, they immediately vomited while leaning against a tree. The few male disciples looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of vigilance and scrutiny. Was this still the same trash? How could he be so powerful? The six of them couldn't break through the snake's defense, but Wei Liangyue pierced through the snake's body like he was piercing through paper. It was as if he didn't use any strength at all. They didn't see him use his qi either. Could he really be that strong? Ning Shu wiped the blood off his sword and put it in his storage bag. Lu Qinyang's eyes flickered as he said in surprise, "Junior brother Wei, you are so powerful. How did you get the title of trash?" Others are jealous that I have a fiancé like Shihuidi and say that I'm trash and not worthy of her. Ning Shu said indifferently, "When did I admit that I'm trash?" Lu Qinyang sighed. It seemed that everyone said that Wei Liangyue was trash, and then everyone thought that Wei Liangyue was trash. No one knew whether Wei Liangyue was trash or not, but Wei Liangyue's cowardly appearance showed that he was trash. Damn, Lu Qinyang was about to be confused. He felt that Wei Liangyue was really a scheming person. He carried the title of trash for so long and fooled around with women every day. What was he planning? After the two female disciples finished vomiting, their faces were pale. They said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother, next time before you make a move, tell us first." Ning Shu looked at their weak appearance and felt a deep fear in his heart. Damn, she was also a woman. Why didn't she feel anything when facing such a situation? She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Could it be that she stayed in a man's body for so long that even her thoughts had been assimilated? Ning Shu immediately said, "Actually, I also feel disgusted by such a scene." In order to prove that he was a weak woman, Ning Shu repeatedly emphasized that he was also not used to such a scene. The two female disciples saw Ning Shu's sincere appearance and their expressions became better. One of them even teased Ning Shu. Junior brother Wei's appearance when he killed the snake was very handsome. Even senior sister was mesmerized by him. Ning Shu, please don't. Along the way, Ning Shu obtained a lot of things. The others also had some gains, but not as much as Ning Shu. For example, some of the spirit beasts were too strong. Ning Shu killed the spirit beasts and took the spirit fruits. He didn't think about sharing them with the others. Afraid of Ning Shu's strength, The others didn't say anything. If they were the ones who killed the spirit beasts, Ning Shu wouldn't take their things. Everyone was at peace. Just when everyone was exhausted, they finally arrived at the palace. Ning Shu looked at the palace. It was quite majestic and majestic. There were 2 huge stone lions at the entrance. They were almost as tall as the door. Moreover, the stone lion carvings were very ferocious and looked very frightening. There were already a lot of people gathered around. The arrival of Ning Shu's group didn't attract much attention. Most people glanced at them indifferently. Lu Qinyang looked at so many people inside. Ning Shu said, "It seems that many people have received the news and rushed over to fight for the Senfu." Ning Shu glanced around and didn't see Yu or his harem. Instead, he saw a very beautiful woman. This woman's facial features were very delicate, but she had a pair of peach blossom eyes. When she looked at people, it made people's heart itch, as if there were feathers gently tickling it. If it was a man, his first reaction when he saw this woman would be to have sex with her. Ning Shu's first reaction when he saw this woman was another one of the male lead's women. Charming and affectionate, but deep in her eyes, there was a penetrating coldness. "Stop looking. This woman is the chief disciple of the blood-refining sect. She is very powerful and her martial arts are very cruel." Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu staring at the woman and quickly said, "Stop looking. If you provoke her, especially a man, you will die miserably." Blood-refining sect. Hearing such a bloody name, it was probably some kind of evil sect. Ning Shu asked, "Who is she?" "Yu Wenwen." Lu Qinyang whispered to Ning Shu. Chapter 273. Lu Qinyang frowned when he saw Yu Wenwen. His expression was somewhat unsightly. Logically speaking, Yu Wenwen shouldn't be able to enter the secret realm with her strength. How did she manage to enter? Ning Shu, on the other hand, didn't care about Yu Wenwen's strength. He said indifferently, "She must have used something to conceal her strength. She must have hidden her own cultivation." Lu Qinyang felt that his chances of getting into the Senfu had decreased again. Moreover, who knew how many people with high cultivation were mixed in here? How stifling. After that, more people arrived one after another. Ning Shu kept waiting for Yu to arrive. However, there were many people gathered at the entrance of the palace. The male lead didn't come. He estimated that he would only arrive at the end when everyone was looking at him. Chirp chirp. A clear and melodious bird cry sounded. Everyone looked over and saw several people standing on top of a bright red bird. The men were beautiful and the women were beautiful. They were like immortals descending to the mortal world. Yu Feng, who was standing at the very front, was very handsome. On his left and right stood 2 beauties. One of them was a woman with a veil on her face. Her temperament was even more outstanding, making people want to take off her veil to see just how beautiful she was. Lin Yuanyuan looked at Yu in front of her. She flirted with her hair and narrowed her peach blossom eyes. "Yu, you old thief, eat this young master's fist." Everyone was still immersed in this beautiful scene when a hoarse voice sounded in their ears. They immediately came back to their senses. They felt that this brat really knew how to ruin the atmosphere. Ning Shu's angry roar broke Yu's invisible pretentiousness. Then, he jumped up from the ground and raised his fist to smash Yu. When Yu saw Ning Shu, he was stunned. The ant that he thought was dead was actually still alive. And now, he was actually raising his fist to hit him. It was simply too funny. The sudden appearance of Yu made Shi Huidi and Yan Jiao very surprised. Yu swore that this big bitch was already dead. Ning Shu saw that Yu was just casually clenching his fist, as if he wanted to bump fists with hers. Ning Shu sneered in her heart. She sank her qi into her dantian, and the golden coiling dragon qi in her dantian swam even faster. Her whole body was filled with strength, and she suddenly collided with Yu's fist. Ning Shu's expression suddenly changed, and Yu's arm made a slight cracking sound. Yu's arm was fractured. Yu's expression changed. He had been too careless. He felt as if his fist had collided with black iron. This trash actually had such great strength. Ning Shu withdrew her fist and directly extended her leg to kick the divine beast below them, directly flipping over the phoenix. The phoenix's body was somewhat uncontrollable and it spun a little. However, the person on its back was unlucky and fell down. Yi Yu's expression was gloomy as he flew down with a beauty in his arms. He coldly looked at Ning Shu, but his heart was filled with shock. His physical body was very strong. Aside from cultivating vitality, he had also obtained an ancient body refining secret manual. Yi Yu was very confident in his physical strength, but now, when he exchanged fists with Wei Liangyue, his bones were actually shattered by the opponent's strength, and the opponent was completely fine. Wei Liangyue was so strong? Ning Shu rolled up her sleeves and pointed at Yi Yu. You bastard, you should have chased after this young master. If this young master doesn't teach you a lesson today, you will think this young master is easy to bully. Aren't you dead? Why you here? Yan Jiao angrily shouted at Ning Shu. Her expression was particularly vexed. You are not a big. How can a big be so powerful? Little girl, if you call me big again, I will really do something to you. Ning Shu glanced at Ning Yanjiao. Speaking of which, you are quite pretty as a little chili pepper. You are shameless. Yan Jiao pointed her whip at Ning Shu. She was so angry that her body was trembling. Yi Yu extended his hand in front of Yan Jiao and coldly looked at Ning Shu. His eyes were filled with sharp killing intent, and he indifferently said, Wei Liangyue, what's the point of bullying a woman? Yi Yu, who do you think you are? At this time, you still need a woman to stand up for you. Ning Shu retorted sarcastically. Chirp chirp. The divine beast phoenix that was kicked by Ning Shu rushed towards Ning Shu. Its entire body was covered in scorching flames. Obviously, it was bearing a grudge against Ning Shu for kicking Ning Shu. When Ning Shu saw the phoenix rushing towards him, he didn't dodge. Instead, he directly stretched out his fist to meet it head-on. Ning Shu wanted to know where the limit of his strength was. When his fist landed on the phoenix's head, Ning Shu felt as if he had hit a piece of scorching and hard iron. Although Ning Shu's hand was burned by the phoenix's flames, the phoenix's head was hit by Ning Shu. It was immediately sent flying. As it flew, it swayed and fell to the ground with a plop. Obviously, it was knocked out by Ning Shu. Little flame. Yi Yu's expression changed. He ran over and kept the divine beast into the spiritual beast pouch. With a face full of killing intent, he looked at Ning Shu and said, Wei Liangyue, you are very good. Thank you for the compliment. This is the reward for chasing after me. Don't think that I am a persimmon that you can pinch as you wish. You want to kill me to please my woman? Keep dreaming. As Ning Shu spoke, he blew on his hand. His hand was burned by the phoenix's flames. Sure enough, Yi Yu's spirit pets were all tough bones. After taking a punch from her, Yi Yu was fine. The phoenix only fainted. Seeing how powerful Ning Shu was, Yan Jiao was so shocked that her mouth opened wide. She pointed at Ning Shu and said, Are you still Wei Liangyue the Big? Senior sister, is he Wei Liangyue? Yan Jiao turned to look at Shihuidi and asked. Wei Liangyue gave her an unreal feeling as if a toad had turned into a prince. Shihuidi glanced at Ning Shu with a complicated expression and said indifferently, I am not familiar with him. Shihuidi was speaking the truth. Although she was engaged to Wei Liangyue, they didn't have any interactions. Moreover, Shihuidi knew that her fiancé was that kind of person. She even intentionally avoided meeting him. Therefore, she was basically a stranger to Wei Liangyue. Yan Jiao glared at Ning Shu with hatred. She thought that this person was so powerful and deliberately played with her at the entrance of the secret realm. He was really a big. Since you want to fight, I will accompany you. I want to see how powerful you are. Yi Yu had a deep fear of this second-generation hedonistic son of rich parents. Xiaohua had actually suffered a loss in his hands. Little Flame was too careless. If it spat out the phoenix's true flames at the beginning, it would definitely burn him into charcoal. Ning Shu raised his hand and said loudly, I am injured now. Does the handsome Yi Yu want to take advantage of me? Aren't you afraid of losing face in front of so many beauties? Yi Yu looked at Ning Shu coldly. His eyes were calm. There was no longer any killing intent and anger. In his heart, he had already treated this person as an enemy on the same level. They were destined to be enemies because of Shirhuidi. Chapter 274. Right now, Yiyu hated Wei Liangyue even more than before. In the past, Wei Liangyue was just a good-for-nothing. But now, Wei Liangyue was very powerful. Yiyu was worried that Shirhuidi would regret her decision. Yiyu knew that Shirhuidi was an incomparably cold woman. This kind of woman was extremely attractive to men. Yiyu liked Shirhuidi a lot. If Shirhuidi wanted to be with Wei Liangyue, Yiyu wouldn't be able to tolerate it. No man would be able to tolerate the woman they liked being under another man's body. Therefore, he had to settle things with Wei Liangyue. It would be best if he could kill Wei Liangyue. I don't care what you guys want. Yu Wenwen, who was watching the battle from the side, walked over. Her posture was graceful and enchanting. When she walked over, she brought along a fragrance that was intoxicating. Yu Wenwen walked in front of Yiyu. She stretched out her jade-white fingers. Her fingers were painted with a bright red color, which made her skin look even fairer. She pointed at Yiyu seductively. I have a premonition that the jade token is on you. Take it out. Entering the palace is more important. Now that we have nothing, what can we gain from fighting? Yiyu reached out and grabbed Yu Wenwen's fingers. He revealed a smile, which made his face look even more handsome. Yu Wenwen, whose fingers were grabbed, was startled. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but this man grabbed it tightly. Yu Wenwen was incomparably angry. There had never been a man so daring to get close to her and even grab her hand like this. Let go. Yu Wenwen snorted coldly. However, there was a charming and enchanting smile on her face. There seemed to be venom surging in the depths of her eyes. Yiyu smiled indifferently. It was really challenging to subdue this kind of poisonous beauty. What if I don't let go? It's fine if you don't let go. I will make you beg for death. Yu Wenwen smiled exceptionally brightly. Ning Shu, that now, he threw her aside and flirted with another woman in front of his own harem. She wondered how Shirhuidi and Yan Jiao felt now. When Yan Jiao and little Hunyo saw this scene, they pouted and stomped their feet. Although they were a little jealous, they weren't really angry or sad. Shirhuidi was still cold and cheerless, as if she didn't feel anything about this scene. Ning Shu realized that as a woman, she couldn't understand what these women were thinking. Yiyu and Yu Wenwen were very close to each other. It felt as if their ears were rubbing against each other. Sensing Yiyu's manly aura, Yu Wenwen panicked for a moment. She completely forgot that she was an expert and didn't know how to resist. Yiyu smiled indifferently and let go of Yu Wenwen's finger. He took out a spotlessly white rectangular jade tablet from his storage pouch. If you are looking for this thing, I happen to have it. Ning Shu stared with wide eyes at Yiyu flirting with a girl. As expected, appearance was very important. If Yiyu was ugly, Yu Wenwen would have beaten him to death long ago. How could they still be so flirtatious? Yu Wenwen's face was a little red. She glared at Yiyu, then asked the surrounding people, 2 jade tablets have already appeared. Who has the other jade tablet? Everyone looked at each other. Finally, a man in a long robe stood out, holding an identical jade tablet in his hand. Now that 3 jade tablets had appeared, they only had to wait for the palace to open. The atmosphere instantly became tense. The 3 people holding the jade tablets stood at the entrance of the palace and placed the jade tablets in a special mechanism. The disciples of Tiandao sect all followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu's strength had shocked all the disciples of Tiandao sect. Until now, they still had a look of disbelief on their faces. Junior brother Wei, let's go in together. The more people there are, the more we can take care of each other. Lu Qinyang said to Ning Shu, his eyes staring at the entrance of the palace without blinking. Ning Shu didn't speak. His eyes were fixed on the 2 huge and ferocious stone lions. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but Ning Shu actually saw the eyes of the stone lions move. It seemed like they were about to come to life and had a strong aura. The heavy door of the palace slowly opened. Yiyu, Yu Wenwen, and the man in a long robe took the jade tablets and quickly rushed into the palace. When everyone saw the 3 of them enter, they also rushed inside. Just as they rushed to the entrance, a stone lion actually raised its foot and stomped on them. The alert people immediately dodged, but those who couldn't dodge in time were trampled into meat paste by the stone lion. Even the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The others suddenly stopped and looked at the stone lion that was as tall as the palace. Their eyes revealed a look of horror. Ning Shu let out a long breath. Fortunately, he was alert and didn't rush inside. The stone lion ignored the 3 people who had the jade tablets. Obviously, only those who had the jade tablets could enter the palace. With such 2 large stone lions guarding, it seemed that it was very difficult to enter the palace. Even if they entered, it would be too late. Lu Qinyang was speechless. Before, he wanted to compete for the Senfu, but now he found that he didn't even have the qualifications to compete for the Senfu. It was really a pain in the ass. Ning Shu was not in a hurry. There were many people with high cultivation in the crowd. Faced with such a great temptation like the Senfu, they had to give it a try. Sure enough, it didn't take long for someone to attack the stone lions. But the stone lions were really too big. Compared to them, people were as big as birds. The stone lions dutifully blocked the people who wanted to enter. 2 stone lions blocked the entrance of the palace, making it impossible for people to enter. Damn it. Lu Qinyang was very annoyed. Ning Shu saw that so many people couldn't do anything to the stone lions. She had to go in. Otherwise, Yi Yu would definitely succeed. With the Senfu as his trump card, and the treasures and resources in this space, Yi Yu would be even more difficult to deal with in the future. Yi Yu, who was already powerful, could kill even gods and Buddhas who stood in his way. Ning Shu flew onto the stone lion's head. The stone lion immediately went berserk, but its stiff body was unable to move Ning Shu. Ning Shu tried to push the stone lion down, but the stone lion was very heavy. Ning Shu only managed to move it slightly. When the others saw Ning Shu's actions, they all flew onto the stone lion's head and worked together to push the stone lion down. Ning Shu, who had no other choice, took out a thumb-sized spirit marrow crystal from her storage bag and swallowed it. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of spiritual energy swept through her body, causing Ning Shu's body to swell. In the next second, it seemed like it would burst out of her body. The golden coiling dragon energy in her dantian began to absorb the terrifying amount of spiritual energy, as if it could absorb an endless amount of spiritual energy. Ning Shu shouted and used her energy to push the stone lion to the ground. The stone lion hit the ground with a bang, and even the palace trembled. The stone lion that was pushed to the ground moved its limbs, but it couldn't stand up on its own. Ning Shu flew onto the head of another stone lion. When the others saw Ning Shu coming over, they immediately moved aside. It was so fierce that it was practically a beast in human form. Chapter 275. Ning Shu circulated her dantian, kicked over the huge stone lion, and rushed into the palace. The others rushed into the palace like a swarm of bees. As soon as Ning Shu entered the palace, she was dumbfounded. There were many entrances in front of her, and she didn't know which one to enter. When everyone came in, they frowned when they saw so many entrances. Lu Qinyang moved to Ning Shu's side and asked, "Which one should we take?" "Why are you asking me? I don't know either. Just pick one." Ning Shu also frowned. She didn't know how Yi Yu was doing. She was afraid that Yi Yu was about to refine the Senfu. Many people who were proficient in array formations began to calculate which entrance to enter from. Ning Shu was anxious. She closed her eyes and pointed with her finger. When she opened her eyes and saw the finger pointing at the entrance, she would enter from that entrance. When the others saw Ning Shu's willful behavior, they all shook their heads. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu leave, he had no choice but to find an entrance and enter. The other Tiandao sect disciples followed behind him. Ning Shu rushed into the entrance, and many spirit beasts pounced on her. Ning Shu's fists smashed on the bodies of these spirit beasts. The spirit beasts were defeated by her and turned into heaven and earth yuan qi. Then they turned into spirit beasts. There was an endless number of them, and she couldn't kill them all. Although these spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth yuan qi didn't cause much damage to Ning Shu, they slowed her down. Ning Shu waved her fists and rushed inside. The endless spirit beasts rushed towards her. Ning Shu coldly snorted and took out her long sword. These spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth Yuan Qi were defeated by the tip of Ning Shu's sword. In the end, they finally made it through the first stage, only to be met with another stone golem formation. Every stone golem held a spear in their hands. Although their movements looked slow, they were extremely fast. Ning Shu stabbed at them. Ning Shu kicked the stone man to pieces, picked up the spear on the ground, and hit the stone men one by one, smashing the stone men into pieces. These stone men blocked Ning Shu from passing through the palace. Ning Shu stepped on the heads of these stone men and quickly flew to the other side. If they continued fighting like this, they would die of exhaustion sooner or later. When Ning Shu exited the stone man's array, he suddenly heard a cry. It was a cry of endless pain, as if it had been subjected to some inhumane torture. This voice belonged to a man. Could something have happened to Yu? Ning Shu quickened his pace and prepared to run in the direction of the sound, but he was stopped. The palace was filled with snakes of all sizes and colors. On the ground, on the pillars, there were snakes everywhere. Many snakes were entangled together, and there was no place to step in the entire palace. The air was filled with the hissing of snakes sticking out their tongues, and it was filled with an incomparably fishy smell. Ning Shu's face turned green, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. His trypophobia was acting up. These snakes had been locked in this palace, and they kept breeding. There were more and more of them, and it was simply a snake cave. Fuck, this is too disgusting. When the snakes sensed that an unfamiliar creature had entered the palace, they surged towards Ning Shu. With so many snakes crawling over together, Ning Shu's hair stood on end. It was too fucking terrifying. Ning Shu didn't want to be entangled with these snakes at all. Furthermore, the wailing sound was starting to weaken, and he didn't know what was going on. Ning Shu took out her long sword and killed the snakes that wanted to entangle her. Then she took out some poison from her storage bag and sprinkled it on the bodies of the snakes. As soon as the poison powder came into contact with the snakes, their bodies turned over and died. Although these snakes were dead, they were devoured by the other snakes. These snakes didn't even have time to deal with Ning Shu. They first swallowed the dead snakes, but after swallowing the poisoned snakes, they stopped breathing and were quickly devoured by other snakes. Ning Shu took out the poison from his storage bag. He covered his nose and sprinkled the powder everywhere. The snakes that came into contact with the poison all turned over and gradually died. Ning Shu hurriedly ran. The room was filled with snakes, and it was terrifying to look at. Before Ning Shu could escape, something thick like a tail swept towards him. Ning Shu quickly dodged the attack. He focused his eyes and saw that there was a snake hidden in the shadows. This snake was very large, and its body was as thick as a man's waist. The snake's body was almost 2 feet tall. The snake's body was pitch black, but its eyes were red. It looked down at Ning Shu and stuck out its forked tongue, confronting Ning Shu. Ning Shu took a deep breath. Immediately, a fishy smell spread through his nose to his lungs. He wanted to take a deep breath, but all he smelled was the stench. He almost vomited. Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore. It was too smelly, too disgusting. Ning Shu took the initiative to attack. He held a long sword in his hand and stabbed the tip of the sword towards the snake's head. The giant snake used its strong and powerful tail to sweep towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu dodged the tail and raised his long sword to stab at the snake's head. The giant snake spat out red-hot lava. Ning Shu quickly dodged, but his clothes were still burned. Ning Shu saw that his skin was red and swollen. He quickly threw the sword in his hand at the snake's head. The sharp spirit artifact sword, coupled with Ning Shu's strength, directly pierced through the snake's head. Smelly blood splattered. The giant snake frantically struggled. Its huge body broke the pillars. The little snakes in the palace seemed to be sticking out their forked tongues. They seemed to have sensed something that made them excited. They actually swarmed towards the giant snake. The giant snake was covered with little snakes. These little snakes actually wanted to devour the giant snake. Ning Shu's scalp exploded. Goosebumps appeared all over his body. He didn't even want his long sword. He turned around and ran. Was the purpose of these snakes guarding the checkpoint to disgust people? Ning Shu rushed out of the snake palace and entered a spacious palace. There were 3 people in the palace. Ning Shu saw Yi Yu in front of Yu Wanwan. Not far away, a man in a green robe was lying on the ground. His whole body was spasming. He was howling in grief. His body was twitching at an unnatural angle. The man's facial features were distorted. His eyes, nose, and lips were bleeding. He was bleeding from all 7 orifices. Ayo, ayo, ayo. The man howled in pain. Finally, his body twitched violently. His eyes were wide open. He was no longer breathing. Why did he see such a scene as soon as he entered? Ning Shu was disappointed that the one who died wasn't Yi Yu. There were only 3 people with jade tokens in this palace. Other than Ning Shu, no one else had entered. Seeing the man die, Yu Wanwan's face turned pale. Clearly, seeing someone die in such a painful manner in front of her made Yu Wanwan very afraid. She couldn't help but want to get closer to Yi Yu. Yi Yu turned his head and saw Ning Shu. His pupils shrank. He said coldly, "You actually came in." Ning Shu calmly brushed his hair aside and said, "You came in, why can't I?" Ning Shu looked at the man on the ground in pain. It seems that the senfu isn't that easy to get. Chapter 276. Yi Yu's heart was once again filled with dread towards Wei Liangyue. The others had yet to come in, but she actually took the lead and ran in first. Although her clothes didn't cover her body and she looked battered, she wasn't injured. Ning Shu suddenly thought of Sherhuidi and said to Yi Yu, "Why did you leave your senior and junior sisters outside and come in alone? You should know that these checkpoints are very dangerous." Yi Yu's expression changed. He did not expect that Sherhuidi and Yan Jiao, as well as 2 other competitors, would want to obtain the senfu. Now that Ning Shu said it out loud, Yi Yu was very angry. "Tisk, you really love everyone you see and dump them." Ning Shu mocked Yi Yu. Ning Shu looked around the palace and found that there was a round object floating in the middle of the palace. It was the size of a soccer ball and was spinning. Its surface flashed with a complicated and dazzling light. What the hell was this? "Beauty, may I know how this person died?" Ning Shu asked Yu Wanwan. Yu Wanwan could see that Ning Shu was not weak. She said coldly, "You overestimated yourself. You wanted to blood bond with the senfu first, and you ended up like this." The 3 people with the jade pendants rushed into the palace. Because they had the jade pendants, it was very easy to pass through the checkpoints. Basically, the things guarding the checkpoints would not attack the people with the jade pendants. The robed man who was walking at the front didn't say a word. He sent his consciousness into the core of Holy Realm Dweller's mansion, which was the soccer-sized sphere. However, he didn't know what happened and died just like that. It was probably the senfu's backlash. It was enough to show that the senfu did not recognize this man as its master. Ning Shu frowned. How could the senfu's backlash be so terrifying? His soul was absorbed by something. 2333's voice rang in Ning Shu's mind. He then said, "Look at how big the core of this realm is. It seems that it will disappear soon." "Isn't it bad to be bigger? Why would it dissipate when it's bigger?" Ning Shu asked, somewhat puzzled. The system explained, the bigger the core, the looser the structure inside. Sooner or later, it will disperse. The more solidified it is, the smaller the volume. Trash plane. Ning Shu asked, "Are you saying that his soul is gone? Was it devoured by something? Could it be that the core of the plane devoured his soul?" "I don't know about that," 2333 said and disappeared. Ning Shu heard from 2333 that the robed man's soul was gone. Ning Shu wanted to let Yi Yu go. It would be best if the core could absorb Yi Yu's soul. Ning Shu bared his teeth and said to Yi Yu, "Since you guys are not going to blood bond with the senfu, it would be impolite of me to refuse." Yu Wanwan heard that Ning Shu wanted to blood bond with the senfu and said with a cold face, "Senior brother, you don't have a jade tablet. How can you blood bond with the senfu?" Ning Shu spread his hands and said to Yi Yu and Yu Wanwan, "Who said that only those with a jade tablet can blood bond with the senfu?" The person with the jade tablet suffered a backlash in the end. "Since I am here, it means that I am fated with this senfu. The treasures belong to the fated person, and I am that fated person. With me here, Wei Liangyue, you won't have the chance to blood bond with the Senfu. Yiyu said coldly to Ning Shu. He then turned to Yu Wanwan and said, Yuan, go blood bond with the Senfu. Yuan? Ning Shu looked at the two of them. How long has it been since they met? The way they addressed each other was so intimate. Yiyu's flirting skills couldn't be underestimated. With the example of the long-robed man, Yu Wanwan hesitated. She felt that the Senfu was difficult to blood bond with. Moreover, Yu Wanwan didn't believe that Yiyu would give the Senfu to her. What if I blood bond with the Senfu? Yu Wanwan asked Yiyu. She was like a little girl testing her lover. Yiyu smiled and said gently, since you blood bond with the Senfu, it means that this Senfu should be yours. Moreover, there are many treasures and fortunes in this world. If you don't have the Senfu, you will find something better next time. Yu Wanwan blushed and said, are you serious? Of course. Yiyu nodded firmly. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu realized that he was being ignored again. This public display of affection made Ning Shu want to burn the two of them to death. Yu Wanwan took a deep breath and shook her head. I don't think I can blood bond with the Senfu. You should blood bond with it. I will guard it for you. No one can hurt you. Yu Wanwan looked at Ning Shu with vigilance. I can feel that this Senfu should belong to you. Don't doubt my feelings. They are very accurate. This is a talent that can predict the future. Yu Wanwan looked at Yiyu with a gentle gaze. Yuan, thank you. Yiyu couldn't help but hold Yu Wanwan's hand. Yu Wanwan smiled and said, hurry up and blood bond with the Senfu. Ning Shu thought, I'm being ignored again. I'm only watching Yiyu flirt with girls. Just as Yiyu was about to blood bond with the Senfu, someone rushed into the hall. When the person saw the core, he immediately shouted, Senfu. More and more people rushed into the hall. When they saw the spinning core, everyone's eyes glowed with passion. Ning Shu looked. Although many people came in, he estimated that more people died in the checkpoint. There were a lot of people in the beginning. Now there were less than 1/10 of them. The weak ones were all dead. When they saw the core, some people tried to invade the core with their consciousness. They wanted to blood bond with the Senfu, but the result was the same as the long-robed man. The person who was devoured by the Senfu clutched his head. His eyes bulged and blood flowed out of his orifices. In the end, he fell to the ground and died. Many people fell to the ground one after another, calming down the crowd. The hall was quiet. Everyone looked at the spinning core in horror. They didn't expect this to happen. Ning Shu looked at these people's corpses. His pupils were dilated. Their souls were really devoured by something. Ning Shu stared at the spinning core. He guessed that maybe the owner of the Senfu wasn't dead and was hiding in the core. As long as someone tried to blood bond with the Senfu, their soul would be devoured. If it encountered a talented person, it would probably take over the body. Ning Shu glanced at Yiyu. People came in one after another. Seeing more and more people in the hall, Yiyu's expression turned ugly. Yu Wanwan comforted Yiyu. It doesn't matter how many people there are. This Senfu will be yours in the end. Please believe in my feelings. Yiyu smiled at Yu Wanwan. Ning Shu didn't look at the lovey-dovey scene between the two of them. Instead, she saw Shi Huidi and little Hunyo Yanjiao in the crowd. These two people were very calmly watching the man they liked being lovey-dovey with another woman. Chapter 277. Some people didn't give up and still wanted to immerse their consciousness into the core, but the result was the same and they died very miserably. One after another, inhuman screams sounded in the palace, causing everyone to keep quiet out of fear. This thing was too evil. Ning Shu didn't find any disciples of the Tiandao sect in the crowd. Could it be that they were all wiped out? If these disciples really died, the Tiandao sect would tremble in heartache. They could be considered the most talented disciples of the Tiandao sect. Hopefully they were fine. After all, Old Man Wei was an elder of the Tiandao sect. Ning Shu didn't have any sense of belonging to the Tiandao sect. Ning Shu moved to the side of Yan Jiao and asked her, how does it feel to see the man you like being intimate with another woman? Yan Jiao was obviously shocked by Ning Shu, seeing that it was Wei Liangyue, this big pervert. She immediately frowned and said hatefully, none of your business. TSK, I really sympathize with you. If I were you, I would go up and give you 2 big slaps, then kick the place 3 inches below his navel. Ning Shu said. Sherhuidi looked at Ning Shu coldly, then shifted her gaze away and ignored Ning Shu. Yan Jiao said very disdainfully, You speak as if you are a good thing, didn't you also spoil so many women? Luckily for others, senior brother Yi is a very good person, it's normal for women to like him. Senior brother Yi respects women a lot, such a gentle person like him can't be compared to you. Ning Shu, alright, these girls who were shrouded in the male lead's halo, their thoughts were very strange. As long as they saw the male lead, they would be attracted to him. Moreover, they would have no complaints and no regrets, deeply loving the male lead. They were also very glad that there were so many sisters who liked you like them. Ning Shu shook his head, coughed and broke the silence in the palace and said, Since no one has a way to refine the senfu, this young master will give it a try. Yu saw that Ning Shu was actually standing together with Yan Jiao and Sherhuidi. His face immediately sank and walked over. Yu Wanwan immediately followed by Yi Yu's side. Senior sister, Yan Jiao, it's great that you guys are fine. Yi Yu looked at the 2 people with concern, Yan Jiao's mouth, and said with jealousy, I'm afraid that you didn't even think about us. Now that you have such a beauty by your side, you already forgot about me and senior sister. You bad. Hearing Yan Jiao's words, Yi Yu knew that this outspoken junior sister wasn't angry, but he didn't know what the incomparably cold Sherhuidi was thinking. Yi Yu glanced at Ning Shu, and Ning Shu immediately said, What are you looking at me for? Could it be that you think there is something between me and this little chili? I don't like this little she-wolf, always chasing after me and biting me. Wei Liangyue, what did you say? Who is the little she-wolf? I will kill you. Yan Jiao pointed at Ning Shu and shouted hatefully. Yi Yu didn't suspect that there was something between Yan Jiao and Wei Liangyue, but he suspected that there was something between Wei Liangyue and Sherhuidi. After all, they were once engaged. Yi Yu suddenly knew what Sherhuidi was thinking, and Yi Yu felt that he was being teased by Sherhuidi's attitude. She seemed to treat him a little special, but at the same time, there wasn't anything special, it was just like an ordinary senior sister and junior brother. The miserable screams in the palace continued. Although so many people had died, everyone felt that they were special, that they were favored by the heavens, and in addition, they couldn't resist the desire in their hearts to join the senfu, so one after another, they threw away their lives. Ning Shu squeezed his consciousness into the inner core, and immediately, he felt a gloomy and cold aura entering his soul. The force was so strong that it wanted to pull his soul out of his body, and there was a huge attractive force that wanted to suck his soul into the inner core. Obediently offer your soul to the God. Your soul is very strong, unprecedentedly strong. An old voice sounded in Ning Shu's consciousness, and Ning Shu didn't enter the inner core, immediately withdrawing his consciousness. Even so, his soul was still exhausted, and his back was drenched in cold sweat. Yu Wanwan looked at Ning Shu's appearance, and was surprised that this person didn't die. The people who wanted to form a blood bond with the senfu were all dead. This person's strength really couldn't be underestimated. Fuck, my spiritual power isn't good enough, I can't even enter the inner core, Ning Shu cursed. Yu Wanwan heard Ning Shu's words, and immediately felt that he was overthinking. No wonder he didn't die, even his consciousness couldn't enter the inner core. Don't waste your time, you won't be able to obtain this senfu, Yu Wanwan said very confidently, clearly believing in his own feelings. Ning Shu shrugged and didn't speak. He felt that his soul was exhausted, and that in just a few moments he had used up a lot of his spiritual power. But Ning Shu had gotten what he wanted, and there was indeed something wrong with the inner core. He was afraid that the jade tablet was the soul's doing, and that it was all to lure people here. Seeing Ning Shu return with a crushing defeat, Yi Yu sneered, and his consciousness entered the inner core. But not long after, Yi Yu's face began to look ferocious. Yu Wanwan and Yan Jiao looked at Yi Yu nervously, and even the cold Sherhuidi looked at Yi Yu. Ning Shu looked at Yi Yu, and with Yi Yu's luck and power, he was afraid that he could kill this soul and obtain the senfu. Ning Shu pursed his lips, and in his mind, he asked 2333, You said last time that the dimension was born, can you go there? What do you want? Why are you asking this? 2333 asked. Ning Shu said, I'm asking if you can go or not. Well, you really can't go, Ning Shu said with disdain. He saw Yi Yu's mouth was bleeding, and he was probably fighting with the soul. Ning Shu asked 2333, can you go or not? I can go, but I don't have enough energy, 2333 said after a moment of silence. You absorbed so many spirit marrow crystals, and you still don't have enough energy? Ning Shu thought the system was very cunning. 2333 said gloomily, this kind of energy is not enough for us to go to the place where the dimension is born. If you give me the chaos stones, I will have enough energy, 2333 said. Ning Shu thought 2333, the system only cared about his chaos stones. It seemed that chaos stones were really good things. Ning Shu said calmly, system, there are some things that I don't want to be calculative about, but don't treat me like a fool. When the time comes, I will complain about you. You cheated players of their things, and you used a loophole in the system to exchange for things for me. When the time comes, you should prepare to go back to the recycle bin. I exchanged for things for you, and you are so ungrateful. I don't have enough energy to save you. You said you would help me find energy, but now you're going back on your word. You want my help, give me a chaos stone, and you threaten me like this. Ning Shu, what do you take me for? I may be a mainframe, but you can't bully me like this. 2333's voice was full of anger. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, why do I feel so guilty? Chapter 278. In the end, Ning Shu and the system came to an agreement. He gave the fist-sized chaos stone to the system, and the system brought Ning Shu to the place where the planar space was growing. Yi Yu was still fighting with the spirit body. Not only was Yi Yu spitting out blood, but his eyes were also bleeding. Clearly, the battle was very intense. A dusky spirit body in Yi Yu's consciousness was clamoring for Yi Yu to give up his body. It wanted to use Yi Yu's body to create an unprecedented legend. Yi Yu was proud and arrogant. He only wanted to kill the person who wanted to steal his body. Not only did he want to kill this old fart, but he also wanted to obtain the senfu. Yi Yu raised his head, and his body emitted a powerful aura. He roared like thunder, you want my body? Dream on. Die for me first. Yi Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was sinister, and the veins on his forehead were popping out. He looked like he was in extreme pain. Ning Shu saw Yi Yu in this state. Now was the time to hit him while he was down. He immediately clenched his fist and smashed it at Yi Yu's head. Yu-11 immediately blocked the attack for Yi Yu. However, she was still hit by Ning Shu's fist and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yi Yu looked at Ning Shu with a pair of red eyes. His eyes were filled with hatred. Because he was absent-minded, he was attacked by the spirit body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became much weaker, and he took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Wei Liangyue, you actually dared to attack senior brother Yi. Yan Jiao was furious. She pointed her whip at Ning Shu. Big pervert, you dared to hurt my senior brother. I will make you beg for death. Yu-11 wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She looked at Ning Shu with a malicious expression. You are courting death. Ning Shu saw that Yu-11 was injured, but she still wanted to protect Yi Yu. She and Yi Yu had only known each other for less than a day. She already had such deep feelings for Yi Yu? Wasn't this development a little too fast? Logically speaking, how could a woman like Lu Yuanyuan, who was more scheming and seductive, be so devoted to someone so quickly? In fact, Yu-11 had her own selfish motives. She didn't have a way to obtain the senfu. She felt that Yi Yu could obtain the senfu, so she could only help Yi Yu obtain the senfu. Only then would she be able to obtain the benefits. Moreover, she had an inexplicable good impression of Yi Yu. Huidi walked over. She looked at Ning Shu and said coldly, treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Just now, you didn't obtain the senfu. Now, junior brother Yi has a chance to obtain the senfu. If you want to take advantage of others, you have to go through us first. Ning Shu deeply understood the principle of many hands make light work. He saw that there were 3 women protecting Yi Yu. Moreover, they were women with high cultivations. Wei Liangyue, I will definitely kill you. Yi Yu spat out blood and said in a low voice. See, they want to kill me. I can't just wait for death. Beating a drowning dog is the normal way to go. Ning Shu said with a grin. However, he didn't show any mercy as he punched at Sherhuidi. He had long wanted to take revenge. When he first arrived in this world, he was beaten so badly by Sherhuidi. Sherhuidi knew how strong this person was. The two squatting stone lions were easily pushed aside. Sherhuidi took out her long silk dress and wanted to wrap it around Ning Shu's body. However, Ning Shu grabbed the long silk dress and used all his strength to throw Sherhuidi's body away. Sherhuidi crashed into the wall and fell to the ground. She spat out blood and the blood soaked the silk dress. Senior sister. Yan Jiao was indescribably shocked. She quickly ran over and helped Sherhuidi up. Sherhuidi ate 2 medicinal pills and sat cross-legged on the ground to heal her injuries. Yan Jiao's eyes were red. She originally wanted to roar at Ning Shu. However, after being glared at by Ning Shu, she immediately felt wronged and shouted, "How can you treat senior sister like this?" Ning Shu was too lazy to pay attention to her. Yan Jiao was really naive. Although she was lively and cute, she always did things according to her own wishes. For example, she always wanted Yi Yu to kill her. But now, she was complaining like this. Did she really think that he should spoil Sherhuidi just because she was his fiancée? Yi Yu saw that Sherhuidi was injured. His originally red and bleeding eyes were now bleeding even more. Yi Yu took a deep breath. He took out 2 medicinal pills from his storage pouch and swallowed them. Today, I want to see who will destroy who. Yi Yu's words seemed to be directed at the possessed soul. However, it also seemed to be directed at Ning Shu. When Yu Wanwan saw that Sherhuidi was injured, she bit her lips tightly and looked warily at Ning Shu. Ning Shu moved his fist and looked at Yu Wanwan. Then he threw a punch at Yu Wanwan. To be honest, Ning Shu especially liked the feeling of fighting barehanded. This feeling of punching flesh was the best. When Yu Wanwan saw Ning Shu's fist, she originally wanted to dodge. However, when she thought of Yi Yu behind her, Yu Wanwan chose to take it head-on. A spirit artifact that resembled a shield appeared in Yu Wanwan's hand. The spirit artifact emitted a low glow. Yu Wanwan had injected almost all her Yuan Qi into the spirit artifact, hoping that the spirit artifact would be able to block the opponent's fist. It was ridiculous. She was clearly holding a spirit artifact in her hand, but she had no confidence against this man's physical body. Yu Wanwan began to doubt whether Yi Yu would be able to obtain the Senfu. Ning Shu directly smashed his fist against the spirit artifact. Yu Wanwan took a few steps back. Her hand hung limply by her side. The huge force had shattered her bones. Yu Wanwan's mouth was bleeding uncontrollably. Yu Wanwan hurriedly ate a pill. Her entire body was dispirited and her face was extremely pale. Even her shimmering peach blossom eyes had dimmed a lot. Ning Shu blew on his fist. This was the pinnacle of strength. Ning Shu understood that the path he would take in the future was to walk the path of strength. He would use strength to break through technique. Ah! Yi Yu raised his head and roared angrily. His hair fluttered, and he instantly erupted with a powerful pressure. Then he stretched out his fist and met Ning Shu's attack. Ning Shu's heart sank. It seemed that Yi Yu had completely dealt with that spirit body. Moreover, he seemed to have absorbed that spirit body and become even stronger. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the core's speed of rotation had slowed down, and its volume had also increased. It seemed that in a few years, this plane would disappear and collapse. Ning Shu thought of the kelp in the sea. If this plane disappeared, the kelp would disappear with it. Ning Shu circulated his qi in his dantian. He stretched out his fist and collided with Yi Yu's. The place where their fists met produced a powerful force. Ning Shu and Yi Yu flew backward at the same time. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood and ate a pill. However, Yi Yu seemed to be fine. It seemed that the current Yi Yu was much stronger than before. However, if they really fought, Ning Shu wasn't afraid at all. Ning Shu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He clenched his fist and looked at Yi Yu warily. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said coldly, "You have to pay the price for injuring them." Ning Shu chuckled. This young master can hit whoever he wants. What can you do to this young master? Yi Yu's face was livid. He clenched his fist and charged at Ning Shu. He fought with Ning Shu barehanded. The surrounding people watched the battle between the two in silence. Both of them were human-shaped beasts. Chapter 279. Ning Shu and Yi Yu couldn't do anything to each other. Every time their fists collided, Ning Shu would feel pain in her internal organs. Yi Yu also felt that his opponent's fists were like rocks, and the bones in his hand were about to shatter. Yi Yu was most proud of his tough body that other cultivators couldn't compare to. He cultivated the ancient body refinement technique, but now, a person whose strength and body were stronger than his suddenly appeared. Moreover, it was the person he had always thought was trash. Yi Yu was determined to determine the victor, and he wanted to kill Wei Liangyue. The current Wei Liangyue was like a fishbone stuck in Yi Yu's throat, and he wouldn't be happy if he didn't get rid of him. Ning Shu concentrated her energy in her dantian and used all her strength to strike at Yi Yu. After their fists collided, Ning Shu could clearly hear the sound of her bones cracking. Her body had become incomparably tough after being strengthened by her energy, but now, her bones had actually cracked. The two of them flew out at the same time. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood and quickly ate an elixir. She mobilized the golden coiling dragon energy in her dantian to repair her broken arm. Although Ning Shu's bones were cracked, Yi Yu's entire arm was limp. It was obvious that his injury was more serious than Ning Shu's. Yi Yu ate the elixir and looked coldly at Ning Shu. Wei Liangyue, I have underestimated you. Ning Shu said arrogantly, that's because you are blind. Yi Yu, don't bother about him for now. Refine the senfu. Yu Wenwen said to Yi Yu with a weary expression. Now that they were in a life-and-death battle with Wei Liangyue, and there were so many people around, it wouldn't be good if someone took advantage of them. Yi Yu made a sound of acknowledgement as he calmed the rampaging vital energy in his body. Then he sent his consciousness into the core. He wanted to place his consciousness on the core. That way, he would be able to control the entire immortal estate. Yi Yu had devoured the soul from before and had learned many things from it. This senfu had even more unimaginable treasures. He had to obtain this senfu. If he could let this senfu evolve and give birth to life, he would be able to become an almighty who could control an entire realm. When Ning Shu saw that Yi Yu was about to refine the senfu, he immediately sent his consciousness into the core and sent out a message. I want you to return to the place where the plane was born. Don't let this man have you. A moment later, Ning Shu's consciousness sent a subtle hint of joy, as if asking Ning Shu if it was true. I can bring you back to the place where the plane was born and let you condense the laws of heaven and earth again. The premise is that you can't let another man have you. Ning Shu knew that his luck wasn't as good as Yi Yu's, and such a fortuitous encounter wouldn't happen to him. He could only use this method. Instantly, Ning Shu felt a connection with this senfu and knew that the senfu had chosen him. Yi Yu's expression changed. Previously, he could still feel a trace of connection with the senfu, but now he couldn't feel anything. Even the core was starting to reject him. Yi Yu reflexively looked at Ning Shu and saw that she was eating elixirs. Yi Yu immediately frowned and looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. Ning Shu chewed on a large amount of elixirs and rolled his eyes. What are you looking at? Have you never seen someone eating elixirs before? Suddenly, the surroundings turned dark. Everyone instantly lost consciousness and didn't know what had happened. When everyone woke up, they found themselves in a valley. They were no longer in the senfu. Yu Wenwen asked Yi Yu, did you get the senfu? Yi Yu's face was ashen. Just as he was about to tell Yu Wenwen that he didn't get the senfu, he heard a loud voice in his dantian, Yi Yu, I know you got the senfu. Hand over the senfu and I'll spare your life. Wei Liangyue, the senfu isn't with me at all. Don't slander me. I even suspect that the senfu is in your hands. Yi Yu said coldly as Ning Shu roared. Ning Shu put his hands on his waist and laughed. I still hope that I got the senfu. If I got the senfu, I would immediately give the senfu to Sherhuidi and let her marry me. Didn't your Hongmen sect see that I'm too shabby and don't want to marry Sherhuidi to me? Ning Shu suddenly felt that the joke had gone too far. What if the Hongmen sect married Sherhuidi to him, but I don't have the senfu in my hands now? It seems that I and Shirhuidi are not fated to be together in this life. Shirhuidi looked at Ning Shu coldly. Wei Liangyue, how are you going to humiliate me? Even if I die, I won't marry you. Shirhuidi coldly said. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. Well, even without the crooked tree, I still have the entire forest. Shirhuidi vomited a mouthful of blood. She was already injured by Ning Shu and now she was being humiliated by Ning Shu. She immediately vomited blood. Yu Wenwen's face was filled with astonishment as she asked Yu, you really didn't get the senfu? Yu shook his head. Ning Shu pointed at Yu, keep pretending. Aren't you just afraid that people will know that the senfu is in your hands? Don't slander that the senfu is in my hands. My cultivation is really not high. I'm only a spirit master. I rely on brute force when I fight. My cultivation and mental strength are not enough to support me to get the senfu. Yu really wanted to vomit blood. He saw that the surrounding people were looking at him with greedy and burning eyes. What happened? Why are you guys here? Why did the secret realm disappear? The sect's leading elders came over. Ning Shu found the Tiandao sect's leading elder. He pointed at Yu and shouted, Elder, Hongmen sect's disciple Yu has obtained the senfu. Ning Shu's words made the various sect's elders' faces sink. The Hongmen sect's elder had an incomparably pleasantly surprised expression. He directly led the Hongmen sect's disciples away. Yu looked at the elder's pleasantly surprised expression and felt an unspeakable bitterness in his heart. Yu Wenwen saw Yu leave and felt resentful. She really didn't gain anything. She brought the jade tablet but didn't get anything. But who had the senfu? Yu Wenwen suspected that the senfu was in the hands of Wei Liangyue. But his cultivation was indeed not high. He didn't have a strong spiritual power to support it. A small fish couldn't swallow a whale. With Wei Liangyue's cultivation, it was almost impossible for him to obtain the senfu. The power of the senfu was too strong. He simply couldn't withstand it. When the sandpiper and clam fight, the fisherman benefits. She didn't know who was the one who hid behind the scenes and obtained the benefits. But she didn't get anything. She was busy for nothing and was even injured. Yu Wenwen felt so sullen in her heart. She was the chief disciple of the blood refining sect. She had never been in such a difficult situation before. She was even schemed against like this. Yu Wenwen vomited a mouthful of blood and could only leave. The secret realm had disappeared. Especially since Hongmen had obtained the senfu. Hongmen's strength would soar like a geyser. Everyone went back one after another. The Tiandao sect's leading elder had a worried expression. He looked at Ning Su and sighed, I didn't expect you to come back alive. Your father's plan was not in vain. We will go back first. The leading elder Ning Shu said. Ning Shu didn't know how to tell the elder that the Tiandao sect's disciples were all wiped out except for her. Chapter 280. The Tiandao sect's leading elder brought Ning Shu to meet up with the other disciples. Ning Shu saw that the 4 disciples who should have been completely wiped out were fine. You guys are fine? Ning Shu asked in surprise. Lu Qinyang looked at Ning Shu with a complicated gaze and said, We didn't enter the palace. The checkpoint was too dangerous, so we backed out. When they entered the entrance, the first checkpoint was a powerful spirit beast. Without Ning Shu by their side, they couldn't beat the spirit beast at all, so they backed out. They waited outside the palace for Ning Shu to come out. In the end, their consciousness turned black and they left the senfu. After such a thing happened, everyone knew that the senfu had been refined. Lu Qinyang still wanted to get the senfu, but he didn't even enter the palace. His face was burning. Ning Shu felt that these people were lucky not to have entered the palace. Many people had died in the palace, and their souls had been devoured. They couldn't even reincarnate. Ning Shu boarded the spirit ship, and the others followed. As soon as he relaxed, Ning Shu felt very tired. He had been fighting non-stop in the secret realm, and his nerves were tense. Now he felt pain all over. Ning Shu leaned against the cabin and fell asleep. The others didn't disturb him, but they kept sizing up Ning Shu. Lu Qinyang still wanted to ask Ning Shu about the situation in the palace, but seeing that he had fallen asleep, he gave up. When they arrived at the Tiandao sect, Ning Shu was woken up by the leading elder. The leading elder Ning Shu asked, "Was the Senfu really refined by the disciples of the Hongmen sect?" Ning Shu nodded without hesitation and said firmly, "It was taken away by Yi Yu of the Hongmen sect. Now, the secret realm for the disciples of the various sects is gone. There are many treasures in the secret realm of the elders. I heard that there is also a 10,000-year-old spirit marrow." 10,000-year-old spirit marrow? The leading elder's voice trembled. Is this news accurate? Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. I don't know about this, but it's probably true. The secret realm is really big, and there are many good things, but these places are too dangerous. The more Ning Shu said, the more the leading elder's face sank. If this thing was in his own hands, he would probably laugh his teeth off. But in the hands of others, it was simply scratching his heart, and his heart was bleeding with jealousy. The leading elder sighed. The Hongmen sect is really lucky to be able to obtain the Senfu. It was true that the Hongmen sect had such a talented disciple like Yi Yu. That was their luck. Later on, the Hongmen sect became very powerful. At the time, the Tiandao sect was stronger than the Hongmen sect, but during Wei Liangyue and Shi Huidi's wedding ceremony, Yi Yu came to steal the bride, and the entire Tiandao sect defended Yi Yu. In the end, Yi Yu came back to take revenge, and the Tiandao sect completely withered. Struggling at death's door, it was destroyed in the end. Ning Shu repeatedly brainwashed the leading elder, saying that the Senfu had been refined by Yi Yu. Moreover, Ning Shu vividly described the situation at the time to the leading elder. The leading elder listened to Ning Shu's description and truly believed that the Senfu was in the hands of the Hongmen sect's disciples. Ning Shu glanced at the leading elder, whose face had turned black, and patted his but before getting off the spirit ship. There were many people in the Tiandao sect square. Ning Shu saw that Old Man Wei was waiting for him. He immediately walked in front of Old Man Wei and called him father. Old Man Wei's eyes were a little red. "It's good that you're back. I thought you would die in the secret realm. I just heard that 2 disciples died this time. I thought something had happened to you." "Father, I'm fine. It's all thanks to the flash wind eagle that you gave me this time." Ning Shu spoke to Old Man Wei as he walked towards his room. "Father, do you know how to set up a barrier? I have something good for you." Ning Shu closed the door and asked Old Man Wei. Old Man Wei waved his hand. "Father doesn't want your things. You can keep whatever you have. It's really good." Ning Shu saw Old Man Wei's expression that said, "I don't care about your junk," so he took out a box from his storage bag. Old Man Wei saw his son's serious expression and waved his hand to set up a barrier. "Okay, open it and see what good stuff it is." Old Man Wei teased, "This is the first time you've given me something." Ning Shu opened the box. Inside the box was a snow-white fruit. The fruit was surrounded by a complex halo. Old Man Wei didn't pay much attention to it before. Obviously, he didn't think that his useless son couldn't take out something good. But when he saw the fruit, Old Man Wei's eyes widened. He quickly closed the lid and said warily, "Put it away. How did you get this thing?" "Father, you're pressing down on my hand," Ning Shu said with a wooden face. Her thumb was pinned down by Old Man Wei's strength, and Old Man Wei even pressed down hard. It was really fucking painful. "Old Man Wei." Ning Shu gave the fruit to Old Man Wei. After thinking about it, he also gave Old Man Wei a spirit marrow crystal. "Father, I picked this up. It's for you." "Ah." Old Man Wei looked at the spirit marrow crystal and his eyes almost popped out. He quickly put it away and lectured Ning Shu. "You can't take these things out casually, okay? It's too precious. If someone sees it, they'll kill you and steal it." Ning Shu nodded. Seeing that Old Man Wei just put the thing away, he said, "Father, you should eat the fruit. It's safest when it's in your stomach. It's a waste to eat the spirit fruit like this. I'll eat it after refining it into a pill." Old Man Wei still couldn't bear to eat it. Ning Shu didn't think that refining it into a pill would be good. If the refining failed, the fruit would be gone. It was better to eat it as it was. Ning Shu snatched the spirit fruit from Old Man Wei's hand and stuffed it into his mouth. The skin of the spirit fruit broke. Instantly, a pure essence of the world and a fresh fragrance wafted out. Old Man Wei's heart ached. He swallowed the spirit fruit in a few mouthfuls and even opened his mouth wide, wanting to suck the overflowing spirit energy back into his stomach. Ning Shu, I'm going into seclusion. You take care of yourself. Old Man Wei's aura was fluctuating. It seemed like he was about to break through. Ning Shu nodded. I know, Father. Be careful when you're in seclusion. Yes, Father knows. I'm much more energetic now. It seems like I have to go out more in the future. I can't always hide in Tiandao sect. Old Man Wei sighed. I'm so jealous to be able to get something from my son one day. Father, set up a barrier in my cave. I want to go into seclusion too, Ning Shu said. Old Man Wei set up a barrier in front of Ning Shu's door before leaving. When Old Man Wei was far away, Ning Shu took out the senfu. The senfu was in her palm. It was only the size of an ice cube. It was quite magical that such a big plane had shrunk to this size. Ning Shuchao said to 2333, let's send this plane back. Since he promised the plane, he had to send it back. Chapter 281. Ning Shu had never thought of owning this dimension. This dimension was on the verge of collapse. Moreover, Ning Shu wasn't sure if leaving this dimension to Wei Liangyue was a good thing or a bad thing for her. Wei Liangyue was just cannon fodder. She didn't have heaven-defying luck. Even if she had something good, it would be a gift to others. With this thing on her, she would probably end up the same way. After thinking about it, Ning Shu still wanted to send this dimension to the place where the dimension gave birth to the laws. 2333 Ning Shu asked, have you really thought it through? You should know that it's very difficult to go there. There are many spatial blades. If your soul is hit by a spatial wind blade, it might dissipate. For such a broken dimension, even if you go back to the place where the laws are given birth, you might not be able to give birth to your own laws. Is it really worth it? Ning Shu bit her lips. She cherished life more than anyone. She didn't want to die. However, she had promised the dimension to give her a place where the laws were given birth. She was in a dilemma. Ning Shu hesitated for a long time. She really couldn't make up her mind. She sat cross-legged on the bed and cultivated. However, she was impatient. She even had a chest ache. She was showing signs of qi deviation. Ning Shu clenched her fists. She was very unhappy. She said to 2333, I've decided to go. Since I promised, I'll go. If I really die, it'll be a gain for me. The most important thing was to have a clear conscience. She couldn't complete the mission in her current state. 2333 was silent for a while. Finally he said, I'll do my best to protect you. Thank you. Ning Shu smiled. After a while, Ning Shu's soul left Wei Liangyue's body. She held the dimension in her hand. 2333 brought Ning Shu out of this dimension. When they were high in the sky, they encountered astral winds. Ning Shu had some trouble dodging these astral winds. It's not too late to regret now. 2333 said indifferently, these are just ordinary astral winds. Once you leave this dimension, you'll encounter astral winds much stronger. Your soul might dissipate before you reach the place. Ning Shu bit his lips and calmly said, go. Ning Shu, you really have a hole in your head. 2333 sighed. After exiting the quest world, Ning Shu entered a vast expanse of whiteness. 2333 Ning Shu explained, this is the gap between realms. There are spatial collapses, spatial winds, and wind blades. You must be careful, or you will be doomed eternally. No one can save you. I know. Ning Shu focused, paying attention to his surroundings as he walked. A spatial wind blade silently flew towards Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu tilted his head to avoid the wind blade. However, a strand of his hair was cut off by the wind blade. Ning Shu was now a soul body. Every part of his body was soul power. If his hair was cut off, Ning Shu's soul would be weakened. Ning Shu didn't dare to be careless. He became more careful and walked slowly. Not only did he have to be careful of the spatial wind blades, but he also had to be careful of spatial collapses. If he fell into a spatial collapse, his soul would instantly be shattered. There are several spatial wind blades ahead at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Be careful to avoid them. 2333 activated its scan. However, it couldn't scan a large area. 2333 needed to conserve energy. Without enough energy, it and Ning Shu couldn't return. Ning Shu dodged the wind blades. Although 2333 warned him, he could avoid one spatial wind blade. However, it didn't mean that he could avoid them every time. As long as he was hit by a wind blade, Ning Shu's soul power would quickly dissipate. Ning Shu's soul body was a lot thinner than before. Ning Shu was afraid that he wouldn't be able to make it. After all, they hadn't even reached their goal yet. All he could do was cheer in his heart. Ning Shu covered the spatial realm with his hand and asked 2333, "How much further?" Ning Shu felt that he had walked a lot. Not even halfway. "I told you before. You need to think about this carefully." 2333 said. "Ning Shu, but I feel like I've walked a long way." Ning Shu didn't believe it. "You're mistaken. You haven't walked that far." "Alright." Ning Shu dodged the wind blade in front of him. 2333's urgent voice sounded in his mind, "Don't go to the left. There's a spatial collapse there." However, if he moved to the right, he would be hit by the wind blade. Ning Shu pursed his lips and chose to take the wind blade head-on. The wind blade passed through Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu groaned. His soul felt like it was being torn apart. Ning Shu looked at his hand. It was almost transparent. It seemed that he was going to die here. As if sensing Ning Shu's predicament, the spatial realm in Ning Shu's hand slowly transferred spatial energy to him. With spatial energy, Ning Shu's soul became stronger. Even if the wind blade hit him, his soul power wouldn't dissipate so quickly. Ning Shu looked at the ice-sized realm and suddenly felt very happy. There were some things that could be done and there were some things that couldn't be done. Even when doing a quest, there were some principles that had to be adhered to. Because of the toughness of his soul, Ning Shu quickened his pace. Walking in the vast expanse of whiteness, Ning Shu didn't know how long he had been walking. He only knew how to dodge the wind blades. The speed at which he dodged the wind blades became more and more nimble. He was rarely hit by the wind blades. "We're here." 2333's voice was full of emotion. Obviously, he didn't expect to really make it here. "We're here?" Ning Shu looked around. This was a huge, indescribable place. It was like a sea. Ning Shu compared to the sea was like the difference between an ant and the earth. This place was full of chaotic laws. There were also some undeveloped realms floating in the sea of laws. The edges of the laws were linked to endless realms. These realms were attached to each other. Although there were 3,000 realms, there were endless realms and worlds here. Some realms were very complete and full of life. Some realms were full of holes and dark. This is a realm that is about to be destroyed. 2333 said. Ning Shu said, "Your mission is to prevent this realm from becoming like this." Although every world has its own lucky child, a 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an anthole. Every living creature will cause harm to the realm they are in. The resentment of those cannon fodders will also cause the laws of heaven and earth to collapse. If a realm has too many people like this, the laws will collapse. Ning Shu suddenly sighed. The laws gave birth to life. They were like the mother of these life forms, but they hurt their mother. Ning Shu put the realm in his hand into the Sea of Laws. There were many new realms in the Sea of Laws. These realms would give birth to countless lives. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.